Abolish. The government decided to abolish the outdated law. Abortion. The debate over abortion rights continues to divide the nation. Absence. His absence from the meeting was noted by everyone. Absent. She was absent from school due to illness. Absorb. Plants absorb nutrients from the soil to grow. Abstract. The artist painted an abstract representation of her emotions. Absurd. His explanation for being late was so absurd that no one believed him. Abuse. Domestic abuse should never be tolerated. Academy. He was accepted into the prestigious Academy of Fine Arts. Accelerate. The car began to accelerate as it entered the highway. Accent. Her British accent made her stand out in the crowd. Acceptance. The acceptance letter brought tears of joy to her eyes. Accessible. The new ramp made the building accessible to wheelchair users. Accidentally. She accidentally spilled coffee on her shirt. Accommodate. The hotel was able to accommodate the last-minute request for an extra bed. Accommodation. The hotel provided comfortable accommodation for the guests. Accomplish. With hard work and determination, she was able to accomplish her goals. Accomplishment. Winning the competition was her greatest accomplishment. Accordingly. He adjusted his schedule accordingly to meet the deadline. Accountability. Leaders should be held accountable for their actions. Accountable. As a manager, she was accountable for the team's performance. Accountant. The company hired a new accountant to handle the finances. Accumulate. Dust began to accumulate on the shelves. Accumulation. The accumulation of snow made driving difficult. Accuracy. The accuracy of the data was crucial for the experiment. Accurately. She was able to accurately predict the outcome. Accusation. The accusation of fraud tarnished his reputation. Accused. The accused pleaded not guilty in court. Acid. Lemon juice contains citric acid. Acquisition. The company announced the acquisition of a smaller competitor. Acre. The farmer owned several acres of land. Activate. Press the button to activate the alarm. Activation. The activation of the new software went smoothly. Activist. She became an activist for environmental causes. Acute. He suffered from acute back pain. Adaptation. The adaptation of the novel into a film was well received. Addiction. Overcoming addiction can be a long and difficult process. Additionally. Additionally, he offered to help with the project. Adequate. The supplies were adequate for the task at hand. Adequately. She was adequately prepared for the exam. Adhere. Make sure to adhere to the safety guidelines. Adjacent. The two buildings were adjacent to each other. Adjust. You can adjust the settings to your preference. Adjustment. It took her some time to make the adjustment to her new job. Administer. The nurse will administer the medication. Administrative. She handles administrative tasks for the company. Administrator. The school hired a new administrator to oversee operations. Admission. Admission to the museum is free for children under 12. Adolescent. Adolescents often face peer pressure. Adoption. They decided to pursue adoption after years of trying to conceive. Adverse. The adverse weather conditions forced the cancellation of the event. Advocate. She is a passionate advocate for human rights. Aesthetic. The design had a modern aesthetic. Affection. He showed affection by giving her a hug. Affordable. The rent for the apartment was affordable. Aftermath. The aftermath of the storm left widespread destruction. Aged. The aged wine had a rich and complex flavor. Aggression. The dog's aggression towards strangers was concerning. Agricultural. The region's economy relies heavily on agricultural production. Agriculture. He studied agriculture in college. Aid. The senator's aide helped draft the new legislation. Alert. The security guard remained alert throughout the night. Alien. The concept of aliens from other planets has fascinated people for centuries. Align. Make sure to align the edges of the paper before gluing them together. Alignment. The alignment of the planets is a rare occurrence. Alike. The twins looked so alike that it was hard to tell them apart. Allegation. The police are investigating the allegation of fraud. Allege. He alleged that the company had been involved in illegal activities. Allegedly. The suspect allegedly stole the car. Alliance. The two countries formed a strategic alliance. Allocate. The budget committee will allocate funds for the project. Allocation. The allocation of resources is crucial for the success of the project. Allowance. She receives a weekly allowance from her parents. Ally. They became allies in the fight against injustice. Alongside. The new building will be constructed alongside the existing one. Altogether. Altogether, it was a successful event. Aluminum. The cans were made of aluminum. Amateur. He was an amateur photographer who enjoyed taking pictures in his free time. Ambassador. The ambassador represented his country at the United Nations. Ambitious. She had ambitious plans for her future. Ambulance. The ambulance rushed to the scene of the accident. Amend. He proposed to amend the Constitution to include the new law. Amendment. The First Amendment protects freedom of speech. Amid. Amid the chaos, she remained calm. Amusing. The comedian's jokes were amusing. Analogy. She used an analogy to explain the complex concept. Analyst. The financial analyst predicted a downturn in the market. Ancestor. He traced his ancestry back to the Mayflower. Anchor. The ship dropped anchor in the harbor. Angel. She was like an angel, always helping others in need. Animation. The animation in the movie was top-notch. Annually. The festival is held annually in the spring. Anonymous. The author chose to remain anonymous. Anticipate. I anticipate that there will be traffic on the highway. Anxiety. He felt a sense of anxiety before his big presentation. Apology. She offered a sincere apology for her mistake. Apparatus. The scientist used a complicated apparatus to conduct the experiment. Apparel. The boutique sells trendy apparel for young adults. Appealing. The job offer was appealing, with its competitive salary and benefits. Appetite. His appetite for adventure led him to explore new places. Applaud. The audience erupted in applause at the end of the performance. Applicable. The new rule is applicable to all employees. Applicant. She was a strong applicant for the position. Appoint. The President will appoint a new Supreme Court Justice. Appreciation. She showed her appreciation for their help with a thank you card. Apprentice. He started as an apprentice and worked his way up to manager. Approachable. Despite his success, he remained approachable and down to earth. Approval. The committee gave their approval for the project to proceed. Approximately. The journey will take approximately 3 hours. Arbitrary. The decision seemed arbitrary and unfair. Archaeological. The archaeological dig uncovered ancient artifacts. Archaeology. She studied archaeology in college. Architectural. The city is known for its beautiful architectural landmarks. Architecture. The architecture of the cathedral is breathtaking. Archive. The documents were stored in the archive for safekeeping. Arctic. The Arctic region is experiencing rapid climate change. Arena. The athletes competed in the arena. Argument. They got into a heated argument over politics. Armed. The soldiers were heavily armed. Armor. The knight wore shiny armor into battle. Aroma. The aroma of freshly baked bread filled the kitchen. Array. There was an array of desserts to choose from. Arrest. The police made an arrest in connection with the robbery. Arrival. The arrival of spring brought warmer weather. Arrow. He shot an arrow into the target. Arson. The fire was believed to be the result of arson. Article. She published an article in the local newspaper. Artifact. The museum displayed ancient artifacts from Egypt. Artistic. She had a natural artistic talent. Aspiration. His aspiration was to become a famous actor. Assemble. We need to assemble the furniture according to the instructions. Assembly. The assembly of the toy was more complicated than expected. Assess. The teacher will assess the student's understanding of the material. Assessment. The assessment of the situation led to a change in strategy. Asset. His positive attitude is his greatest asset. Assign. The teacher will assign homework every night. Assignment. The students completed the assignment ahead of schedule. Associate. She is an associate professor at the university. Association. The association is dedicated to promoting environmental conservation. Assorted. The box contained an assorted selection of chocolates. Assumption. He made the assumption that she would be there. Assurance. He gave her assurance that everything would be okay. Astonishing. The magician's tricks were astonishing. Astronaut. She dreamed of becoming an astronaut and exploring space. Astronomy. He studied astronomy in college. Athlete. The athlete trained hard for the upcoming competition. Athletic. She was known for her athletic ability. Atlantic. The Atlantic Ocean is the second largest ocean in the world. Atmosphere. The atmosphere at the party was lively and festive. Atom. Atoms are the building blocks of matter. Attachment. She sent the email with the document attached. Attempt. He made an attempt to break the world record. Attendee. The conference had over 1,000 attendees. Attention. Pay attention to the details to avoid mistakes. Attic. They stored old furniture in the attic. Attorney. He hired an attorney to represent him in court. Attract. The bright colors attract butterflies to the garden. Attraction. The theme park is a popular tourist attraction. Attribute. She attributes her success to hard work and determination. Auction. The painting sold for a high price at the auction. Audible. The sound of the waves crashing was audible from the beach. Audience. The audience applauded at the end of the performance. Audio. The audio quality of the recording was excellent. Authentic. The restaurant served authentic Italian cuisine. Authorization. You need authorization to access the secure area. Authorize. The manager will authorize the purchase of new equipment. Autism. He was diagnosed with autism at a young age. Autobiography. She wrote her autobiography to share her life story. Automated. The factory used automated machinery to increase efficiency. Automatic. The doors opened automatically as we approached. Automatically. The computer program will automatically save your work. Autonomy. The company gives its employees a great deal of autonomy. Auxiliary. The auxiliary nurse assisted the doctor during the surgery. Available. Is the product available in other colors? Avenue. The street was lined with shops and restaurants. Average. The average temperature for this time of year is 75 degrees. Aviation. He has a passion for aviation and hopes to become a pilot. Avoidance. He practiced avoidance tactics to evade capture. Award. She received an award for her outstanding contribution. Awareness. The campaign aims to raise awareness about mental health. Away. He walked away from the argument to cool off. Backbone. Her strong sense of integrity was her backbone. Background. She has a background in finance. Backpack. He packed his backpack with supplies for the camping trip. Backward. He took a step backward to avoid the oncoming car. Backyard. The children played in the backyard. Bacteria. Bacteria can multiply rapidly under the right conditions. Baggage. She struggled to carry her heavy baggage through the airport. Bakery. The bakery sold freshly baked bread and pastries. Balance. It's important to maintain a balance between work and leisure. Ballot. Voters cast their ballot in the election. Bamboo. The panda feeds on bamboo shoots. Banana. She ate a banana for breakfast. Bandage. He applied a bandage to the wound. Bankrupt. The company filed for bankruptcy after facing financial difficulties. Banner. The banner hung proudly above the entrance to the stadium. Barbecue. They hosted a barbecue in their backyard. Barely. She could barely hear him over the noise. Barrier. The fence acted as a barrier to keep the animals out. Basement. They stored their old belongings in the basement. Basketball. He enjoys playing basketball in his free time. Bathtub. She relaxed in the bathtub after a long day at work. Battered. The old house looked battered and neglected. Battlefield. The battlefield was littered with the wreckage of war. Beachfront. The hotel boasted a prime beachfront location. Bearable. Despite the heat, the weather was bearable with a slight breeze. Beast. The beast roamed through the forest in search of prey. Beautify. They worked hard to beautify the neighborhood park. Because. He couldn't go to the party because he had to study for exams. Beeswax. The candles were made from pure beeswax. Behavior. His behavior towards his classmates was unacceptable. Behind. He left his keys behind and had to go back for them. Believe. His belief in himself was unwavering. Believe. She couldn't believe her eyes when she saw the surprise party. Beneath. The treasure was buried beneath the old oak tree. Beneficial. Regular exercise is beneficial for your health. Benefit. The new policy will benefit low-income families. Benevolent. The charity was founded with benevolent intentions. Beverage. She poured herself a glass of her favorite beverage. Bewildered. He looked bewildered as he tried to make sense of the instructions. Bewitching. The view of the sunset was bewitching. Bias. The journalist tried to avoid showing bias in her reporting. Bible. He studied the Bible to gain a deeper understanding of his faith. Bicyclist. The bicyclist rode past us on the bike path. Billboard. The billboard advertised the new movie coming out next month. Billionaire. He became a billionaire after founding a successful tech company. Binding. The contract had a binding agreement that both parties had to follow. Biography. She wrote a biography of her favorite historical figure. Birdhouse. The children built a birdhouse in their backyard. Birthday. They celebrated her birthday with a big party. Bitterness. Bitterness crept into their relationship after years of conflict. Blackmail. He threatened to blackmail her if she didn't give him what he wanted. Blacksmith. The blacksmith forged a new horseshoe for the horse. Blade. The blade of the knife was sharp and gleaming. Blanket. She wrapped herself in a warm blanket on the cold winter night. Blatant. His disregard for the rules was blatant. Blessing. His new job was a blessing in disguise. Blissful. They spent a blissful afternoon lounging by the pool. Bloated. He felt bloated after eating too much at the buffet. Blockade. The protesters set up a blockade to prevent access to the building. Blossom. The flowers began to blossom in the spring. Blueprint. The architect drew up a blueprint for the new building. Blurred. Her vision was blurred without her glasses. Boarding. The boarding process for the flight was delayed. Boatyard. The boatyard was filled with boats of all shapes and sizes. Bodyguard. The celebrity hired a bodyguard to protect her from fans. Boisterous. The children were boisterous at the birthday party. Boldness. She admired his boldness in standing up for what he believed in. Bombard. The enemy troops continued to bombard the city with artillery fire. Bondage. The prisoner was kept in bondage for years before being released. Bonus. She received a bonus for exceeding her sales targets. Bookcase. The bookcase was filled with books on various subjects. Booking. She made a booking for 2 at her favorite restaurant. Bookmark. He placed a bookmark in his book before closing it. Booth. They sat together in the photo booth, taking silly pictures. Border. The river formed the border between the two countries. Boredom. She sighed in boredom as the lecture droned on. Borrower. He was a frequent borrower of books from the library. Bossy. Her bossy attitude rubbed her co-workers the wrong way. Botanical. She enjoyed visiting the botanical gardens to see the different plant species. Bottle. She filled the bottle with water before heading out for a hike. Boulevard. The shops along the boulevard were bustling with shoppers. Boundary. She respected the boundary between her yard and her neighbors. Bouquet. He surprised her with a beautiful bouquet of flowers. Boutique. She found a unique dress at a trendy boutique downtown. Bowtie. He wore a stylish bow tie with his suit to the wedding. Boycott. The group organized a boycott of the company's products. Bracelet. She wore a bracelet that her grandmother had given her. Bravery. He showed bravery in the face of danger. Breadwinner. He was the primary breadwinner for his family. Breakable. The vase was delicate and easily breakable. Breakfast. She made pancakes for breakfast on Sunday morning. Breakthrough. The scientist made a breakthrough in cancer research. Breathless. She was breathless after running up the stairs. Brevity. The speaker's brevity made his point clear and concise. Bridegroom. The bridegroom looked handsome in his tuxedo. Briefcase. He carried his important documents in a leather briefcase. Brilliant. The diamonds in her necklace sparkled brilliantly in the sunlight. Broadcast. The news was broadcast live to millions of viewers. Broccoli. She steamed some broccoli to serve with dinner. Brochure. She picked up a brochure from the Tourist Information Center. Broken. The vase lay in pieces on the floor, broken beyond repair. Bronze. The statue was made of bronze and stood in the town square. Brotherly. They shared a brotherly bond that nothing could break. Browse. She liked to browse the bookstore on lazy Sunday afternoons. Buckle. The strap on her bag started to buckle under the weight of her books. Budget. They carefully planned their budget before going on vacation. Buffet. The hotel offered a buffet breakfast with a variety of options. Bugle. The bugle sounded, signaling the start of the race. Builder. The builder constructed the house according to the architect's plans. Bulb. She planted flower bulbs in the garden in the fall. Bulldozer. The construction crew used a bulldozer to clear the site. Bullfight. Bullfighting is a traditional sport in some cultures. Bungalow. They rented a bungalow for their vacation by the beach. Burden. The responsibility of caring for her sick mother was a heavy burden. Bureau. She kept her important documents in a filing cabinet in her home office. Burglary. The police investigated a burglary at the jewelry store. Business. He owns a successful business that has been operating for over 20 years. Buttercup. The children picked buttercups in the field. Butterfly. The butterfly fluttered its wings and flew away. Buttermilk. She used buttermilk to make pancakes for breakfast. Button. He sewed the button back onto his shirt. Buzzard. The buzzard circled overhead, searching for prey. Cabbage. She chopped up some cabbage to make coleslaw. Cabin. They rented a cozy cabin in the mountains for the weekend. Cable. The cable company installed high-speed internet in their home. Cactus. The desert was filled with prickly cacti. Cadence. The music had a soothing cadence that relaxed her. Calculus. He struggled to understand the concepts of calculus. Calendar. She marked the date on her calendar so she wouldn't forget. Calf. The calf frolicked in the meadow next to its mother. Caliber. He was a writer of great caliber, with many bestsellers to his name. Calibrate. He carefully calibrated the equipment to ensure accuracy. Calisthenics. She did calisthenics every morning to stay in shape. Calligraphy. She practiced calligraphy as a hobby, writing beautifully ornate letters. Camouflage. The soldiers wore camouflage uniforms to blend in with their surroundings. Campaign. The politician launched a campaign to win the upcoming election. Canal. The canal provided an important waterway for shipping goods. Cancel. They had to cancel their vacation due to unforeseen circumstances. Candid. His candid remarks often got him into trouble. Candlelight. They dined by candlelight in the romantic restaurant. Canine. The canine unit helped the police track down the suspect. Canyon. They hiked through the canyon, marveling at its natural beauty. Capability. His leadership skills showcased his capability to lead the team. Capacity. The stadium reached full capacity for the championship game. Capital. The capital city was the center of political power. Capsize. The boat nearly capsized in the rough waters. Captive. The captive was held prisoner in a remote dungeon. Captivity. The animals lived their entire lives in captivity. Capture. He managed to capture the elusive butterfly in his net. Caravan. The caravan of travelers journeyed across the desert. Carbon. Carbon is an essential element for life on Earth. Carbohydrate. She avoided foods high in carbohydrates to maintain a healthy diet. Cardboard. They used cardboard boxes to pack up their belongings. Career. She pursued a career in medicine from a young age. Careful. He was always careful to double-check his work for errors. Cargo. The ship carried a valuable cargo of goods from overseas. Carnival. The town celebrated with a colorful carnival each year. Carol. They sang Christmas carols around the fireplace. Carousel. The children rode the carousel at the amusement park. Carpool. They decided to carpool to work to save money on gas. Carriage. The horse-drawn carriage took them on a tour of the city. Carrier. The carrier pigeon delivered the message across long distances. Cascade. The waterfall cascaded down the rocks in a breathtaking display. Cashew. She snacked on roasted cashews while watching TV. Casually. They chatted casually over coffee, enjoying each other's company. Catalog. She flipped through the catalog, searching for the perfect gift. Caterpillar. The caterpillar spun itself a cocoon and emerged as a butterfly. Cathedral. The cathedral was a magnificent example of Gothic architecture. Cauliflower. She roasted cauliflower with garlic for a delicious side dish. Cautiously. They proceeded cautiously through the dark forest. Cavalry. The cavalry rode into battle on horseback. Ceiling. The ceiling of the cathedral was adorned with intricate frescoes. Celebrate. They gathered to celebrate her graduation from college. Celebrity. The celebrity was hounded by paparazzi wherever she went. Cellar. They stored their wine collection in the cellar. Cemetery. They visited the cemetery to pay their respects to loved ones. Census. The census counted the population of the country every 10 years. Centerpiece. The centerpiece of the table was a beautiful bouquet of flowers. Ceramic. She collected ceramic figurines from around the world. Ceremony. They held a ceremony to honor those who had served in the military. Certain. He was certain that he had made the right decision. Certificate. She received a certificate for completing the course. Certification. He obtained certification in first aid training. Chainmail. The knight wore chainmail for protection in battle. Chairperson. She was elected chairperson of the board of directors. Chameleon. The chameleon changed color to blend in with its surroundings. Champion. He was determined to become the champion of the competition. Chancellor. The chancellor of the university welcomed the new students. Chandelier. The chandelier sparkled with crystals in the grand ballroom. Changeable. The weather in the mountains was notoriously changeable. Channel. They flipped through the channels on the TV, searching for something to watch. Chaos. The scene descended into chaos as people panicked. Chapter. She read the next chapter of her book before going to bed. Character. He had a strong character, always standing up for what he believed in. Charcoal. She grilled burgers over charcoal for dinner. Charger. He plugged his phone into the charger to recharge the battery. Charity. They donated to charity to help those in need. Charmingly. He smiled charmingly at her, hoping to win her over. Checkered. The checkered flag signaled the end of the race. Cheerful. She had a cheerful disposition that lifted the spirits of those around her. Cheeseburger. He ordered a cheeseburger with fries for lunch. Chef. The chef prepared a gourmet meal for the guests. Chemistry. She studied chemistry in school and dreamed of becoming a scientist. Cherry. She picked cherries from the tree in the backyard. Chessboard. They played chess on the chessboard in the park. Chicken. She roasted a chicken for Sunday dinner. Childish. His childish behavior annoyed his older siblings. Chilly. The air was chilly as winter approached. Chinatown. They explored the bustling streets of Chinatown. Chipmunk. The chipmunk scurried across the lawn, searching for nuts. Chivalry. He believed in the code of chivalry, always treating others with respect. Chocolate. She indulged in a piece of rich, dark chocolate. Choir. The choir sang hymns at the church service. Chopstick. She struggled to eat with chopsticks during her trip to Asia. Choreography. The dancers practiced their choreography for hours before the performance. Christmas. They decorated the Christmas tree with lights and ornaments. Chronicle. The historian wrote a chronicle of the ancient civilization. Chuckle. He couldn't help but chuckle at her joke. Cinnamon. The kitchen smelled of cinnamon as she baked cookies. Circuit. The electrician repaired the circuit to restore power to the house. Circular. The trail led in a circular path through the forest. Circulation. The magazine had a wide circulation, reaching readers around the world. Circumference. He measured the circumference of the tree to estimate its age. Circumstance. Given the circumstance, they had to make a difficult decision. Circus. The children were thrilled to see the animals perform at the circus. Civilian. After retiring from the military, he became a civilian. Civilization. The ancient civilization left behind impressive ruins. Claimant. The claimant insisted that the painting belonged to her family. Clairvoyant. She claimed to have clairvoyant abilities, able to predict the future. Clamber. They had to clamber over rocks to reach the summit. Clarification. She sought clarification on the instructions before proceeding. Clarity. The water was so clear, they could see fish swimming below. Classify. He helped classify the books according to genre. Cleanse. She used a special facial cleanser to cleanse her skin. Clearance. The store offered clearance prices on winter clothing. Clerk. The clerk helped customers find the items they were looking for. Cleverly. He cleverly solved the puzzle in record time. Climactic. The climactic battle determined the fate of the kingdom. Climber. He was an experienced climber, scaling mountains around the world. Clinically. The doctor diagnosed the patient clinically, based on symptoms and tests. Clockwork. The toy robot moved with precise clockwork mechanisms. Cloudburst. The cloudburst soaked the hikers as they scrambled for cover. Clumsiness. Her clumsiness often led to spills and accidents. Clutter. She cleared away the clutter from her desk to focus on work. Coachman. The coachman drove the horse-drawn carriage through the city streets. Coalesce. The ideas began to coalesce into a coherent plan. Cocoon. The caterpillar spun itself a cocoon and emerged as a butterfly. Codependent. They had a codependent relationship, relying on each other for everything. Coexistence. The two species lived in peaceful coexistence in the forest. Cognition. The study focused on cognition and memory in aging adults. Coincide. Their birthdays coincided, so they often celebrated together. Colander. She used a colander to drain the pasta before serving. Collaborate. They decided to collaborate on the project to combine their expertise. Collage. She created a collage of photos from her travels. Collapse. The building collapsed under the weight of the snow. Collateral. He put up his car as collateral for the loan. Collective. The group made a collective decision to support the new initiative. Colleague. He discussed the project with his colleagues to get their input. Collectively. Collectively, they raised enough money to fund the charity. Collector. He was an avid collector of rare stamps. Collision. The collision between the two cars resulted in minor damage. Colonial. The town had many colonial-era buildings still standing. Colorful. The garden was filled with colorful flowers in bloom. Columbine. The columbine flowers added a splash of color to the garden. Combatant. The combatant prepared for battle on the eve of the war. Combination. She tried a combination of spices to enhance the flavor of the dish. Comfortably. They settled comfortably into their seats for the long flight. Commentary. The sports commentator provided live commentary during the game. Commencement. The commencement ceremony marked the beginning of their journey into adulthood. Commendable. Her efforts were commendable and worthy of praise. Commercial. They filmed a commercial to promote their new product. Commiserate. They commiserated with each other over their shared loss. Commission. She received a commission for the artwork she sold. Commitment. He showed his commitment by working late to finish the project. Committee. The committee met to discuss the budget for the upcoming year. Commodore. The Commodore oversaw the operations of the fleet. Commonplace. Cell phones have become commonplace in our daily lives. Communication. Effective communication is key to a successful relationship. Commute. He had a long commute to work every day. Compact. She packed everything she needed for the trip into a compact suitcase. Comparable. The two products were comparable in quality and price. Compassion. She showed compassion to those less fortunate than herself. Compatible. The software was compatible with both Mac and PC. Compensation. He received compensation for the work he had done. Competence. Her competence in the field earned her the respect of her peers. Competitive. He was fiercely competitive and hated to lose. Compilation. The album was a compilation of their greatest hits. Complacent. He grew complacent after years of success. Complement. The flavors of the dish complemented each other perfectly. Complete. She felt a sense of satisfaction when she completed the puzzle. Complexion. She had a fair complexion that burned easily in the sun. Compliance. The company ensured compliance with safety regulations. Complicate. Adding more rules will only complicate the situation further. Complication. They encountered a complication during the surgery. Compliment. She blushed at the compliment he paid her. Composure. She maintained her composure even under pressure. Comprehensive. The report provided a comprehensive analysis of the issue. Compromise. They reached a compromise that satisfied both parties. Computerized. The system was computerized for faster processing. Conceal. She tried to conceal her disappointment with a smile. Conceited. His conceited attitude made it hard for others to warm up to him. Concentric. The circles on the target were concentric, with the bullseye at the center. Conceptual. The artist's work was more conceptual than representational. Concerning. There were many rumors concerning the company's financial stability. Concession. The government made a concession to the protesters' demands. Concise. His instructions were concise and easy to follow. Conclusive. The evidence presented was conclusive, leaving no room for doubt. Concord. The nations signed a treaty to promote peace and concord. Concur. The committee members all concurred with the decision. Condemn. The community came together to condemn the act of violence. Condense. She had to condense her presentation to fit within the time limit. Condolence. He offered his condolences to the family of the deceased. Conducive. The quiet atmosphere was conducive to studying. Conductivity. The conductivity of the material made it ideal for electrical wiring. Confederacy. The Confederacy sought to preserve states' rights. Confer. The Council will confer to discuss the proposed changes. Confess. He finally gathered the courage to confess his feelings to her. Confession. The suspect made a confession to the crime. Confidence. Her confidence in her abilities made her unstoppable. Confidential. The document was labeled confidential and not to be shared. Configuration. The configuration of the room made it ideal for socializing. Confine. They had to confine the dog to the backyard while they were away. Confirm. Please confirm your reservation by replying to this email. Confiscate. The authorities confiscated the illegal goods. Conflict. The conflict between the two nations escalated into war. Conform. She refused to conform to society's expectations of her. Confront. He knew he had to confront his fears head-on. Confuse. The directions were so vague, they only served to confuse us further. Congestion. The traffic congestion in the city was unbearable. Conglomerate. The conglomerate owned a diverse portfolio of companies. Congratulate. They gathered to congratulate her on her promotion. Congregation. The congregation met every Sunday for worship. Congress. The Congress debated the new legislation for hours. Conjecture. His theory was based more on conjecture than evidence. Conjunction. The planets aligned in conjunction, creating a rare celestial event. Conjure. The magician could conjure rabbits out of thin air. Connective. The connective tissue held the bones together. Connoisseur. He was a connoisseur of fine wines, able to distinguish the subtlest flavors. Conquest. The conquest of new territories expanded the empire's borders. Conscious. She was conscious of the impact her words might have. Consensus. They reached a consensus on how to proceed with the project. Consent. She gave her consent for the surgery to proceed. Consequence. The consequence of his actions was severe. Conservative. He had conservative views on social issues. Considerate. She was always considerate of other people's feelings. Consistency. The sauce had the perfect consistency, neither too thick nor too thin. Console. She tried to console him after his team lost the championship. Consolidate. The company sought to consolidate its position in the market. Conspiracy. The conspiracy involved high-ranking officials and powerful businessmen. Constantly. He was constantly checking his phone for messages. Constituent. The mayor met with constituents to hear their concerns. Constitute. These actions constitute a violation of company policy. Constitutional. The court ruled that the law was unconstitutional. Constrain. They felt constrained by the limited resources available to them. Constructive. She offered constructive criticism to help him improve. Consultation. The doctor scheduled a consultation to discuss treatment options. Consumerism. Consumerism encourages people to buy more than they need. Consumption. The consumption of sugary drinks has been linked to obesity. Contact. Please contact me if you have any questions. Contagious. The flu virus is highly contagious and can spread rapidly. Contaminate. The polluted water source could contaminate the entire ecosystem. Contemporary. The artist's work is considered contemporary and relevant to modern society. Contend. The two teams will contend for the championship title next week. Contentious. The issue of gun control is highly contentious and often leads to heated debates. Continent. Africa is the second largest continent in terms of both land area and population. Continual. The noise from the construction site was a continual source of annoyance for the residents. Continuation. The sequel is a continuation of the story from the first book. Continuity. The continuity of the storyline was disrupted by the sudden change in the plot. Contraband. The customs officers seized a large shipment of contraband goods. Contractual. The agreement is legally binding and contains all the necessary contractual clauses. Contradict. His actions seem to contradict his earlier statements. Contrary. Contrary to popular belief, not all snakes are venomous. Contrast. The black cat stood in stark contrast to the white snow. Contributor. She is a frequent contributor to various scientific journals. Controversial. The decision to legalize marijuana remains highly controversial. Convenience. The convenience of online shopping has revolutionized the retail industry. Conversion. The conversion of the old warehouse into a trendy loft apartment building was a massive undertaking. Conveyance. The conveyance of goods from the warehouse to the store was handled by truck. Conviction. Despite overwhelming evidence, he maintained his conviction of innocence. Convincing. Her argument was so convincing that even skeptics were persuaded. Cooperation. International cooperation is essential for addressing global challenges. Coordination. The successful execution of the project required careful coordination among team members. Coping. She developed healthy coping mechanisms to deal with stress and anxiety. Copyright. The author holds the copyright to the novel, preventing others from reproducing it without permission. Corporate. The corporate headquarters are located in the heart of the city. Correlation. There is a strong correlation between smoking and lung cancer. Correspondence. The exchange of correspondence between the two leaders paved the way for diplomatic negotiations. Corrupt. The corrupt politician was eventually exposed and brought to justice. Corruption. The investigation uncovered widespread corruption within the government. Costly. The decision to delay repairs proved to be costly in the long run. Counselor. The counselor proposed a new initiative to address homelessness in the city. Counseling. The counseling services provided support for individuals struggling with mental health issues. Counselor. The school counselor helps students navigate academic and personal challenges. Counterpart. The foreign minister met with his counterpart to discuss trade negotiations. Countless. There are countless stars in the night sky, each with its own story to tell. Coup. The military coup overthrowing the government plunged the country into chaos. Courtesy. He showed great courtesy by holding the door open for her. Coverage. The news coverage of the event was extensive, with reporters on the scene providing live updates. Cowboy. The cowboy rode into town on his trusty steed, ready to restore law and order. Crack. The seismic activity caused a crack to form in the pavement. Craft. She honed her craft as a sculptor over many years of dedicated practice. Crawl. The baby began to crawl across the living room floor. Creativity. Creativity knows no bounds and can flourish in unexpected places. Creator. The artist is the creator of the stunning mural adorning the city wall. Credibility. The scientist's research gained credibility after undergoing rigorous peer review. Credible. The witness provided a credible account of the events leading up to the accident. Creep. The eerie feeling that someone was watching made her skin crawl. Critically. The patient's condition deteriorated critically overnight. Critique. The film received mixed reviews from critics, with some praising its originality and others criticizing its plot. Crown. The Queen's crown sparkled in the sunlight as she greeted the crowd. Crude. The crude oil extracted from the ground must undergo refinement before it can be used. Cruise. They decided to go on a cruise to the Caribbean for their honeymoon. Crush. The weight of the debris threatened to crush the small car beneath it. Crystal. The crystal clear waters of the lake were mesmerizing. Cue. His hesitation was the cue for her to step in and take charge. Cult. The charismatic leader of the cult had a magnetic personality that drew in followers. Cultivate. He worked tirelessly to cultivate a garden filled with vibrant flowers and lush greenery. Curiosity. Curiosity drove him to explore the abandoned house on the hill. Curious. The cat couldn't help but be curious about the new arrival in the house. Curriculum. The school's curriculum was designed to provide students with a well-rounded education. Custody. The children were placed in the custody of their grandparents after their parents passed away. Cute. The puppy's big eyes and wagging tail made it irresistibly cute. Cutting. The cutting-edge technology allowed for more precise surgical procedures. Cynical. Years of disappointment had made her cynical about the possibility of finding true love. Dairy. The dairy farm produced fresh milk and cheese daily. Dam. The dam prevented flooding downstream by controlling the flow of water. Damaging. The storm caused extensive damage to homes and infrastructure. Dare. She dared him to jump off the diving board into the deep end of the pool. Darkness. The darkness of the night enveloped the city, broken only by the glow of streetlights. Database. The company's database contained valuable information about its customers. Dawn. The sky turned shades of pink and orange as dawn broke over the horizon. Deadline. We need to meet the deadline for submitting our project proposal. Deadly. The venom of the snake is deadly and can kill within hours. Dealer. The car dealer offered a variety of financing options for customers. Debris. After the explosion, debris littered the streets, making cleanup difficult. Debut. The singer's debut album was met with critical acclaim. Decision-making. Effective decision-making is crucial in leadership roles. Decisive. She made a decisive move that changed the course of the game. Deck. We spent the afternoon relaxing on the deck, enjoying the warm weather. Declaration. The president made a declaration of war against the neighboring country. Dedicated. She was a dedicated teacher who went above and beyond for her students. Dedication. His dedication to his craft was evident in the quality of his work. Deed. He performed a selfless deed by donating his kidney to his brother. Deem. The judge will deem whether the evidence presented is admissible in court. Default. If you don't make your payments on time, you will be in default of your loan agreement. Defect. The manufacturer issued a recall due to a defect in the product. Defender. The defender intercepted the ball and prevented a goal. Defensive. The team's defensive strategy proved successful in keeping the opponent at bay. Deficiency. The doctor diagnosed her with an iron deficiency and prescribed supplements. Deficit. The government's budget deficit continues to grow despite efforts to reduce spending. Defy. She refused to obey the rules and seemed to defy authority at every turn. Delegate. He decided to delegate the task to his assistant to free up time for other priorities. Delegation. The delegation from the United Nations arrived to assess the humanitarian situation. Delete. Please delete the unnecessary files to free up space on the hard drive. Delicate. The delicate flower wilted in the harsh sunlight. Delighted. She was delighted to receive an invitation to the gala event. Democracy. The country prided itself on being a democracy where citizens had the right to vote. Democratic. The democratic process allows for the peaceful transition of power. Demon. The villagers believed that a demon haunted the forest at night. Demonstration. Thousands of people gathered for a peaceful demonstration in the capital. Denial. Despite overwhelming evidence, he remained in denial about his addiction. Denounce. The activist denounced the government's policies as unjust and oppressive. Dense. The fog was so dense that visibility was reduced to almost zero. Density. The density of the material determined its buoyancy in water. Depart. The train is scheduled to depart from the station at 10 a.m. Dependence. The country's dependence on fossil fuels has led to environmental degradation. Dependent. He remained dependent on his parents for financial support. Depict. The artist sought to depict the beauty of nature in her paintings. Deploy. The military decided to deploy additional troops to the region to maintain peace. Deployment. The deployment of troops to the war-torn region was met with mixed reactions. Deposit. She made a deposit of her paycheck into her savings account. Depression. He struggled with depression after the loss of his job. Deprive. The drought had deprived the villagers of clean drinking water. Deputy. The sheriff appointed a deputy to assist with law enforcement duties. Derive. Scientists derive conclusions from carefully collected data. Descend. The hikers began to descend the steep mountain trail as the sun set. Descent. The descent from the summit was treacherous due to the icy conditions. Designate. The committee will designate a spokesperson to address the media. Desirable. The beachfront property was highly desirable due to its stunning views. Desktop. He organized his files on his desktop for easy access. Desperately. She searched desperately for her lost keys, tearing apart the house in the process. Destruction. The tornado left a path of destruction in its wake, leveling homes and buildings. Destructive. The invasive species had a destructive impact on the local ecosystem. Detain. The police detained the suspect for questioning. Detection. Early detection of cancer can greatly improve treatment outcomes. Detention. He was placed in detention for breaking the school's code of conduct. Deteriorate. The old building had begun to deteriorate due to years of neglect. Determination. With sheer determination, she overcame every obstacle in her path. Devastate. The earthquake devastated the coastal town, leaving many homeless. Devil. According to legend, the devil roamed the earth, tempting humans with sin. Devise. They devised a plan to increase efficiency in the workplace. Devote. She devoted her life to caring for abandoned animals. Diagnose. The doctor diagnosed him with pneumonia after conducting several tests. Diagnosis. The diagnosis of cancer came as a shock to the entire family. Dictate. The dictator ruled with an iron fist, dictating every aspect of people's lives. Dictator. The dictator's oppressive regime led to widespread unrest among the population. Differ. Their opinions on the matter differ greatly, leading to heated debates. Differentiate. It can be difficult to differentiate between genuine and counterfeit products. Dignity. Every individual deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. Dilemma. She faced a dilemma to pursue her dream career or to stay close to her family. Dime. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a dime to pay for the candy. Dimension. The room had a spacious dimension, with high ceilings and large windows. Diminish. The popularity of the band began to diminish after their lead singer left. Dip. She took a dip in the cool, refreshing waters of the lake. Diplomat. The diplomat worked tirelessly to negotiate peace agreements between warring nations. Diplomatic. His diplomatic skills helped to ease tensions during the negotiations. Directory. The telephone directory contained listings for businesses and residents. Disability. The organization provided support for people living with disabilities. Disabled. The parking lot had designated spaces for disabled individuals. Disagreement. The siblings often got into heated disagreements over trivial matters. Disappoint. He couldn't help but disappoint his parents with his poor grades. Disappointment. Her disappointment was evident when she didn't receive the promotion. Disastrous. The decision to cut funding for education had disastrous consequences for the community. Discard. He decided to discard the old furniture and buy new pieces for the house. Discharge. The hospital discharged her after she showed signs of improvement. Disclose. He refused to disclose his sources, fearing retaliation. Disclosure. The disclosure of classified information sparked a national security crisis. Discourage. Despite facing setbacks, she refused to let anything discourage her from pursuing her dreams. Discourse. The professor delivered an engaging discourse on the history of democracy. Discretion. He used his discretion to handle the delicate situation with tact and diplomacy. Discrimination. Discrimination based on race, gender, or religion is not tolerated in our company. Dismissal. His dismissal from the team was a blow to his confidence. Disorder. The disorder in the classroom made it difficult for students to focus. Displace. The floodwaters threatened to displace hundreds of families from their homes. Disposal. Proper disposal of hazardous waste is essential to protect the environment. Dispose. He decided to dispose of his old belongings to make room for new ones. Dispute. The neighbors were involved in a long-standing dispute over the property line. Disrupt. The construction work disrupted traffic flow in the neighborhood. Disruption. The sudden power outage caused a disruption in the company's operations. Dissolve. Stir the sugar until it completely dissolves in the water. Distant. The mountain peak looked distant but reachable from where they stood. Distinct. Each species of bird has distinct markings that help in identification. Distinction. She received a special award in recognition of her academic distinction. Distinctive. The artist's style was distinctive, making his work easily recognizable. Distinguish. It can be challenging to distinguish between genuine and counterfeit products. Distort. The funhouse mirrors distorted their reflections, making them appear taller or shorter than they were. Distract. The noise from the street distracted her from her studies. Distress. He experienced great distress upon hearing the news of his friend's accident. Disturb. Please do not disturb the tenants during their quiet hours. Disturbing. The movie depicted disturbing scenes of violence and gore. Dive. The diver plunged into the depths of the ocean, exploring the underwater world. Diverse. The city's population is incredibly diverse, with people from all walks of life. Diversity. Embracing diversity enriches our communities and broadens our perspectives. Divert. The diversion of water from the river affected downstream ecosystems. Divine. The ancient Greeks believed that Mount Olympus was the home of the divine gods. Divorce. After years of marital strife, they finally decided to seek a divorce. Doctrine. The Church's doctrine dictates the beliefs and practices of its followers. Documentation. Make sure to keep all your documentation in a safe place for future reference. Domain. The Internet has become a vast domain of information and communication. Dominance. The lion's dominance over the pride was unquestioned. Dominant. The dominant species in the forest ecosystem plays a crucial role in maintaining balance. Donate. Many people choose to donate to charitable causes to help those in need. Donation. The generous donation of food and clothing helped alleviate the suffering of the flood victims. Donor. She was recognized as a generous donor to various humanitarian organizations. Dose. The doctor prescribed a higher dose of medication to manage the patient's pain. Dot. The night sky was dotted with countless stars, twinkling in the darkness. Drain. The plumber was called to fix a clogged drain in the kitchen sink. Dramatically. The company's profits increased dramatically after implementing new cost-saving measures. Drift. The boat began to drift aimlessly on the open sea. Driving. Speeding is a common cause of accidents on the busy highway. Drought. The prolonged drought resulted in water shortages and crop failures. Drown. He nearly drowned when he was caught in a rip current while swimming. Dual. The new smartphone boasts a dual camera setup for capturing stunning photos. Dub. He was dubbed the king of pop for his influence on the music industry. Dull. The lecture was so dull that many students struggled to stay awake. Dumb. His decision to quit his job without having another lined up was dumb. Dump. The old factory site was used as a dump for industrial waste. Duo. The musical duo captivated the audience with their soulful melodies. Duration. The duration of the movie was 3 hours, including intermission. Dynamic. The dynamic nature of the market requires businesses to adapt quickly to changes. Eager. The students were eager to learn about the fascinating topic. Earnings. His hard work paid off, and his earnings increased significantly. Ease. Meditation can help ease stress and promote relaxation. Echo. Her voice echoed through the empty hallway. Ecological. The ecological impact of deforestation is evident in the loss of biodiversity. Economics. Understanding basic economics is essential for making informed financial decisions. Economist. The economist predicted a downturn in the economy based on current trends. Editorial. The newspaper's editorial criticized the government's handling of the crisis. Educator. As an educator, she was passionate about inspiring her students to learn. Effectiveness. The effectiveness of the new treatment was evident in the patient's improved health. Efficiency. Improving efficiency in production processes can lead to cost savings for the company. Efficiently. The new system allowed them to complete tasks more efficiently. Ego. His inflated ego often got in the way of building meaningful relationships. Elaborate. She gave an elaborate explanation of the scientific theory. Elbow. He accidentally bumped his elbow on the table, causing a sharp pain. Electoral. The electoral process determines who will hold public office. Electronics. The store specializes in selling the latest electronics and gadgets. Elegant. The bride looked elegant in her flowing wedding gown. Elementary. The elementary school students were excited about their upcoming field trip. Elevate. Hard work and dedication can elevate you to new heights of success. Eligible. To be eligible for the scholarship, students must meet certain criteria. Eliminate. They worked hard to eliminate all traces of corruption from the organization. Elite. Only the elite athletes qualify for the prestigious competition. Embark. They decided to embark on a journey around the world. Embarrassment. He blushed with embarrassment when he realized his mistake. Embassy. The ambassador visited the embassy to discuss diplomatic matters. Embed. The journalist embedded herself with the troops to report on the war. Embody. Her actions embody the values of kindness and compassion. Embrace. We should embrace diversity and celebrate our differences. Emergence. The emergence of new technologies has revolutionized the way we live. Emission. The emission of greenhouse gases contributes to climate change. Emotionally. She reacted emotionally to the news of her friend's illness. Empire. The Roman Empire was one of the largest and most powerful in history. Empirical. Scientists rely on empirical evidence to support their theories. Empower. Education has the power to empower individuals and transform lives. Enact. The government plans to enact new legislation to address the issue. Encompass. The report will encompass all aspects of the project. Encouragement. His words of encouragement gave her the confidence to pursue her dreams. Encouraging. The results of the study were encouraging and showed promise for future research. Endeavor. She embarked on a new endeavor to start her own business. Endless. The desert seemed to stretch on endlessly in every direction. Endorse. The celebrity endorsed the new skincare product in a television commercial. Endorsement. The athlete signed a lucrative endorsement deal with a sports brand. Endure. Despite facing numerous challenges, he managed to endure and overcome them. Enforce. It is the responsibility of law enforcement agencies to enforce the law. Enforcement. The enforcement of regulations is essential for maintaining order in society. Engagement. Active engagement in class discussions is encouraged. Engaging. The speaker delivered an engaging presentation that captivated the audience. Enjoyable. Spending time with friends is always enjoyable. Enrich. Traveling to different countries can enrich one's understanding of diverse cultures. Enroll. Students need to enroll in the course before the deadline. Ensue. If we don't address the issue now, further problems may ensue. Enterprise. Starting a small business requires creativity and enterprise. Entertaining. The movie was highly entertaining, with plenty of action and humor. Enthusiast. She's an avid birdwatching enthusiast, always on the lookout for rare species. Entitle. Winning the competition will entitle you to a cash prize and recognition. Entity. The corporation is treated as a separate legal entity from its owners. Entrepreneur. He's known in the community as a successful entrepreneur who built his business from scratch. Envelope. Please place the documents in the envelope and seal it before mailing. Epidemic. The government declared a state of emergency due to the flu epidemic. Equality. The organization advocates for gender equality in the workplace. Equation. Solving this equation requires advanced mathematical skills. Equip. The new gymnasium is equipped with state-of-the-art exercise machines. Equivalent. $1 is roughly equivalent to 100 Japanese yen. Era. The Renaissance was a pivotal era in the history of art and culture. Erect. Workers were busy erecting scaffolding around the building. Erupt. The volcano is expected to erupt at any moment, prompting evacuations in nearby villages. Escalate. Tensions between the two countries continue to escalate, raising concerns about a potential conflict. Essence. The essence of his argument was that education is the key to social mobility. Essentially. The new software essentially streamlines the entire process, saving time and resources. Establishment. The hotel is a well-known establishment in the heart of the city. Eternal. Love is often described as an eternal bond that transcends time. Ethic. The company prides itself on its strong work ethic and commitment to integrity. Ethnic. The neighborhood is known for its rich ethnic diversity and vibrant cultural scene. Evacuate. Residents were forced to evacuate their homes due to the approaching wildfire. Evaluation. The teacher's evaluation of the student's performance will determine their grades. Evident. The effects of climate change are becoming increasingly evident around the world. Evoke. The painting evokes feelings of nostalgia and longing for simpler times. Evolution. The theory of evolution proposes that species change over time in response to their environment. Evolutionary. Human beings have undergone significant evolutionary changes over millions of years. Evolve. Technology continues to evolve at a rapid pace, shaping the way we live and work. Exaggerate. He tends to exaggerate his accomplishments to impress others. Exceed. The company's profits exceeded expectations for the quarter. Excellence. The restaurant is known for its excellence in both food quality and service. Exception. There's always an exception to every rule. Exceptional. Her talent and dedication set her apart as an exceptional athlete. Excess. The excess consumption of sugary drinks is linked to various health problems. Excessive. The use of excessive force by police officers is a serious concern. Exclude. The invitation explicitly stated that children were excluded from the event. Exclusion. The policy of exclusion based on race or ethnicity is unacceptable in today's society. Exclusive. The club is exclusive, requiring a membership fee and strict admission criteria. Exclusively. This product is available exclusively online and cannot be purchased in stores. Execute. The CEO will execute the company's strategic plan to increase profitability. Execution. The successful execution of the project relied on effective teamwork and communication. Exert. He had to exert a lot of effort to lift the heavy box. Exile. The political dissident was forced into exile after speaking out against the government. Exotic. She enjoyed trying exotic foods from different cultures during her travels. Expansion. The company's expansion into international markets was a strategic move for growth. Expedition. The explorers embarked on an expedition to the Arctic to study polar bears. Expenditure. The government's expenditure on healthcare has increased significantly over the years. Experimental. The new drug is still in the experimental phase and requires further testing. Expertise. His expertise in computer programming made him an invaluable asset to the team. Expire. The contract will expire at the end of the month unless renewed. Explicit. The instructions were explicit, leaving no room for confusion. Explicitly. She explicitly stated her intentions to pursue a career in medicine. Exploit. The company was accused of exploiting its workers by paying below minimum wage. Exploitation. Child labor exploitation is a widespread issue in many developing countries. Explosive. The discovery of explosives in the building prompted an immediate evacuation. Exposure. Long-term exposure to sunlight without protection can lead to skin damage. Extension. The deadline for the project has been extended by 2 weeks. Extensive. The museum has an extensive collection of artifacts spanning centuries. Extensively. The topic was extensively covered in the documentary, providing detailed insights. Extract. Scientists are working to extract valuable minerals from deep-sea vents. Extremist. The government cracked down on extremist groups advocating violence. Fabric. The fabric used for the curtains is durable and easy to clean. Fabulous. She looked fabulous in her new dress, turning heads wherever she went. Facilitate. The new software will facilitate communication between team members. Faction. There was tension between different factions within the political party. Faculty. The university's faculty includes renowned scholars and researchers. Fade. The colors of the painting began to fade over time due to exposure to sunlight. Failed. Despite their best efforts, the project ultimately failed to meet its objectives. Fairness. The principle of fairness requires equal treatment for all individuals. Fake. The painting was revealed to be a fake after extensive analysis. Fame. His talent brought him fame and recognition in the music industry. Fantasy. She enjoyed escaping into the world of fantasy novels to unwind after a long day. Fare. The taxi fare to the airport was more expensive than expected due to heavy traffic. Fatal. The accident resulted in a fatal injury, tragically ending a young life. Fate. Some believe that fate determines the course of our lives, while others believe in free will. Favorable. The favorable weather conditions made for a pleasant day at the beach. Feat. Climbing Mount Everest is considered a remarkable feat of human endurance. Felony. Committing a felony can result in serious legal consequences, including imprisonment. Feminist. She was a passionate feminist, advocating for gender equality in all aspects of society. Fiber. Increasing fiber intake can improve digestion and overall health. Fierce. The fierce competition among the athletes made for an exciting event. Filmmaker. The filmmaker won several awards for her thought-provoking documentaries. Filter. The water filter removes impurities and contaminants, providing clean drinking water. Fine. He received a fine for parking his car in a restricted area. Firearm. The possession of a firearm requires a license in many countries. Firefighter. The firefighter bravely entered the burning building to rescue trapped occupants. Firework. The fireworks display lit up the night sky with bursts of color and light. Firm. The law firm specializes in corporate litigation and intellectual property law. Firmly. She firmly believed in standing up for her principles, no matter the cost. Fiscal. The government's fiscal policies impact the economy at both the national and local levels. Fit. Regular exercise helps keep you fit and healthy. Flavor. The soup had a rich and savory flavor, thanks to the herbs and spices. Flaw. Despite its many strengths, the plan had one major flaw that needed addressing. Flawed. The study's methodology was flawed, leading to unreliable results. Flee. The refugees had to flee their war-torn country in search of safety. Fleet. The naval fleet was deployed to protect the country's shores from invasion. Flesh. The butcher carefully removed the skin from the animal's flesh. Flexibility. Yoga and stretching exercises can improve flexibility and range of motion. Flourish. The flowers in the garden began to flourish with the arrival of spring. Fluid. The fluid motion of the dancer captivated the audience. Fond. She had fond memories of spending summers at her grandparents' house. Fool. Only a fool would believe such outlandish claims without evidence. Footage. The security footage captured the thief in the act of stealing the painting. Forbid. The sign forbids entry to unauthorized personnel. Forecast. The weather forecast predicts rain showers for the afternoon. Foreigner. As a foreigner in a new country, she struggled to adapt to the unfamiliar customs. Forge. The blacksmith used a hammer and anvil to forge the metal into a sword. Format. The document needs to be saved in a compatible format for printing. Formation. The soldiers marched in formation, with perfect precision and timing. Formerly. The building, formerly a school, had been converted into a community center. Formula. The scientist developed a new formula for calculating energy efficiency. Formulate. The team worked together to formulate a plan of action. Fourth. He stepped forth to accept the award with a humble smile. Forthcoming. The author's forthcoming novel is highly anticipated by fans. Fortunate. We are fortunate to live in a peaceful and prosperous country. Forum. The online forum provides a platform for users to discuss various topics. Fossil. Paleontologists study fossils to learn about ancient life forms and ecosystems. Foster. The organization works to foster positive relationships between children and foster families. Foundation. The charity was established on the foundation of compassion and empathy. Founder. Steve Jobs was one of the founders of Apple Incorporated, revolutionizing the technology industry. Fraction. Only a fraction of the population has access to clean drinking water in impoverished regions. Fragile. Handle the delicate glassware with care, as it is fragile and easily broken. Fragment. Archaeologists unearthed a fragment of pottery dating back to the Roman Empire. Framework. The treaty provided a framework for diplomatic relations between the two nations. Franchise. The fast food franchise has expanded to over 1,000 locations worldwide. Frankly. Frankly speaking, I don't think the proposal is feasible given our current resources. Fraud. The company's CEO was indicted for fraud and embezzlement. Freely. Citizens should be able to express themselves freely without fear of persecution. Frequent. We have frequent meetings to discuss project updates and milestones. Freshman. As a freshman in college, he was excited to explore new opportunities and subjects. Frustrated. She felt frustrated by the lack of progress despite her best efforts. Frustrating. Dealing with technical glitches can be frustrating, especially during important presentations. Frustration. The team's frustration mounted as they encountered one obstacle after another. Fulfill. Her dream was to fulfill her late father's wish of becoming a doctor. Full-time. She works as a full-time graphic designer at a design agency. Functional. The new software update aims to improve the functional capabilities of the app. Fundamentally. The issue is fundamentally about human rights and equality. Fundraising. The charity organized a fundraising event to support children in need. Funeral. Friends and family gathered to pay their respects at the funeral service. Furious. He was furious when he discovered that his car had been vandalized. Gallon. The car's fuel tank can hold up to 20 gallons of gasoline. Gambling. Gambling addiction can have devastating consequences on individuals and their families. Gaming. The gaming industry has experienced exponential growth in recent years. Gathering. The annual family gathering is a time for reconnecting and making memories. Gay. He came out as gay to his friends and family, who supported him wholeheartedly. Gaze. She gazed out the window, lost in thought. Gear. Make sure you have all the necessary camping gear before setting off on your trip. Gender. Gender equality is essential for creating a fair and just society. Gene. Geneticists study how genes influence various traits and characteristics. Generic. The store brand cereal is a more affordable generic option compared to name brands. Genetic. There is ongoing research into the genetic factors contributing to certain diseases. Genius. Albert Einstein was a genius whose theories revolutionized our understanding of the universe. Genocide. The international community condemned the genocide perpetrated against ethnic minorities. Genuine. Her smile was genuine, reflecting her true happiness and joy. Genuinely. She was genuinely interested in learning about different cultures and traditions. Gesture. His small gesture of kindness made a big difference in her day. Gig. As a freelance writer, she picked up gigs from various clients to sustain her income. Glance. He caught a quick glance of the beautiful sunset before it disappeared behind the mountains. Glimpse. Through the trees, she caught a glimpse of the elusive deer grazing in the meadow. Globalization. Globalization has led to increased interconnectedness and integration among nations. Globe. The globe on his desk served as a reminder of his passion for travel and exploration. Glorious. The sunset painted the sky in glorious shades of orange and pink. Glory. The athlete basked in the glory of winning the championship. Golden. The golden retriever bounded across the field, chasing after a ball. Goodness. His heart was filled with goodness, always eager to help those in need. Gorgeous. She wore a gorgeous dress that turned heads wherever she went. Governance. Effective governance requires transparency, accountability, and citizen participation. Grace. She moved with grace and elegance, capturing the attention of everyone in the room. Graphic. The graphic designer created stunning visuals for the company's marketing campaign. Graphics. The video game boasted cutting-edge graphics that provided an immersive experience. Grasp. He struggled to grasp the complex concepts presented in the physics lecture. Grave. The news of the tragedy cast a grave shadow over the community. Gravity. The force of gravity keeps us grounded to the Earth's surface. Greatly. His contributions greatly enhanced the success of the project. Greenhouse. The greenhouse provided the perfect environment for growing exotic plants. Grid. The city streets formed a grid pattern, making navigation relatively straightforward. Grief. The family was overcome with grief following the sudden loss of their loved one. Grin. He couldn't help but grin from ear to ear when he saw her walk into the room. Grind. With perseverance and determination, he was able to grind through the toughest challenges. Grip. She tightened her grip on the steering wheel as she navigated the icy road. Gross. The company reported a gross profit margin of 30% for the fiscal year. Guerrilla. The guerrilla fighters launched a surprise attack on the enemy camp. Guidance. His parents provided guidance and support as he navigated through life's challenges. Guideline. The document outlined clear guidelines for employees to follow in case of emergencies. Guilt. He was consumed by guilt for not being there when his friend needed him the most. Gut. Trust your gut instinct when making important decisions. Habitat. The conservationists worked tirelessly to preserve the habitat of endangered species. Hail. Hail the size of golf balls battered the windshield, making driving treacherous. Halfway. We're only halfway through the project, so there's still a lot of work to be done. Halt. The construction work came to a halt due to inclement weather conditions. Handful. Only a handful of people witnessed the rare celestial event. Handling. Proper handling of hazardous materials is crucial to prevent accidents. Handy. The multi-tool proved to be incredibly handy during the camping trip. Harassment. The company has a zero-tolerance policy for harassment in the workplace. Harbor. The small fishing village was nestled in a picturesque harbor along the coast. Hardware. The computer's hardware components determine its processing power and capabilities. Harmony. The orchestra played in perfect harmony, captivating the audience with their music. Harsh. The harsh winter weather made it difficult for residents to travel. Harvest. The farmers worked tirelessly to harvest the crops before the onset of winter. Hatred. Hatred and intolerance have no place in a civilized society. Haunt. The old mansion was said to be haunted by the ghost of its former owner. Hazard. The icy road posed a hazard to drivers, leading to multiple accidents. Headquarters. The company's headquarters were located in the heart of the bustling city. Heal. Time will heal the wounds and mend the broken hearts. Healthcare. Access to quality healthcare is a fundamental right for all citizens. Heighten. The increased security measures served to heighten tensions in the region. Helmet. Always wear a helmet when riding a bike to protect yourself from head injuries. Hence. The road was closed, hence, we had to find an alternative route. Herb. The chef added fresh herbs to the dish to enhance its flavor. Heritage. Preserving the country's cultural heritage is essential for future generations. Hidden. The hidden treasure was finally discovered after years of searching. Hierarchy. The military operates on a strict hierarchy, with clear lines of command. High profile. The scandal involving the politician was a high-profile news story. Hilarious. The comedian's jokes had the audience in fits of hilarious laughter. Hint. She dropped subtle hints about her upcoming surprise birthday party. Hib. The new nightclub downtown is the hippest spot in town. Historian. The historian spent years researching the ancient civilization. Homeland. He felt a deep connection to his homeland, despite living abroad for many years. Homeless. The charity provides shelter and support for the homeless in the community. Honesty. Honesty is the best policy, even when it's difficult. Honey. The sweet taste of honey added a delightful flavor to the tea. Hook. The opening sentence of the novel was a captivating hook that drew readers in. Hopeful. Despite the challenges, she remained hopeful for a better future. Hopefully. Hopefully, the weather will clear up in time for the outdoor event. Horizon. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. Horn. The sound of the horn signaled the start of the race. Hostage. The terrorists threatened to harm the hostages if their demands were not met. Hostile. The two countries remained in a hostile standoff, refusing to negotiate. Hostility. There was a palpable sense of hostility between the rival factions. Humanitarian. The organization provides humanitarian aid to refugees in war-torn regions. Humanity. In times of crisis, humanity often comes together to support one another. Humble. Despite his success, he remained humble and grounded. Hunger. The charity aims to alleviate hunger and food insecurity in the community. Hydrogen. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe. Hypothesis. The scientists' hypothesis provided a framework for further research. Icon. She became an icon of the civil rights movement for her tireless activism. Identical. The twins looked nearly identical, making it difficult to tell them apart. Identification. You will need to provide identification before entering the secure facility. Ideological. The political parties clashed over their ideological differences. Ideology. His ideology shaped his beliefs and actions throughout his life. Idiot. He felt like an idiot after realizing he had left his phone at home. Ignorance. Ignorance is often the root cause of prejudice and discrimination. Illusion. The magician created the illusion of a disappearing act with sleight of hand. Imagery. The poet's use of vivid imagery painted a picture in the reader's mind. Immense. The sheer size of the mountain range was immense, stretching as far as the eye could see. Immigration. Immigration policies vary from country to country, impacting who can enter and reside within their borders. Imminent. The storm clouds gathering on the horizon suggested that a downpour was imminent. Immune. Vaccines help to strengthen the body's immune system against infectious diseases. Implement. The company plans to implement new safety protocols to prevent accidents. Implementation. The successful implementation of the project required careful planning and execution. Implication. His silence carried a deeper implication that he did not want to discuss. Imprison. The criminal was sentenced to 10 years in prison for his crimes. Inability. His inability to swim made him nervous around bodies of water. Inadequate. The current funding is inadequate to meet the needs of the growing population. Inappropriate. His joke was deemed inappropriate for the formal occasion. Incarcerate. The authorities incarcerate individuals convicted of serious crimes. Incarceration. Rates of incarceration have been steadily rising in recent years. Incentive. The company offers a bonus as an incentive for employees to meet their targets. Incidence. The incidence of diabetes has been increasing globally. Inclined. She felt inclined to accept the invitation to the charity gala. Inclusion. The policy aims to promote inclusion and diversity in the workplace. Incorporate. The new design will incorporate feedback from customer surveys. Incorrect. His answer was marked incorrect because he misunderstood the question. Incur. He will incur additional costs if he chooses to upgrade to a premium membership. Independence. The country fought for independence from colonial rule. Index. The stock index reflects the overall performance of the market. Indication. The doctor saw no indication of infection based on the patient's symptoms. Indicator. Rising unemployment rates are often seen as an indicator of economic downturn. Indictment. The grand jury returned an indictment against the suspect for multiple charges. Indigenous. The indigenous people of the region have a rich cultural heritage. Induce. The medicine is known to induce drowsiness as a side effect. Indulge. Sometimes, it's okay to indulge in a little self-care and pampering. Inequality. Addressing income inequality is a complex social issue that requires systemic change. Inevitable. Change is inevitable, and it's how we adapt to it that defines us. Inevitably. With the increase in population, urbanization will inevitably follow. Infamous. The abandoned asylum was infamous for its haunted reputation. Infant. The pediatrician provided care for infants and young children. Infect. Bacteria can infect wounds and cause them to become inflamed. Infer. From his tone, she could infer that he was displeased with the decision. Inflation. High inflation rates can erode the purchasing power of a currency. Inflict. The hurricane inflicted widespread damage on coastal communities. Influential. Her influential speeches rallied people to support the cause. Info. Can you provide me with more info about the event? Infrastructure. The government invested in infrastructure projects to improve transportation networks. Inhabitant. The island's only inhabitants were a small community of fishermen. Inherent. Risk is inherent in any investment, but diversification can help mitigate it. Inherit. She will inherit her grandmother's antique jewelry collection. Inhibit. Fear of failure can inhibit creativity and innovation. Initiate. He took the initiative to organize a beach cleanup event. Inject. The doctor will inject the vaccine into your arm to protect you from the flu. Injection. The nurse administered the injection with precision and care. Injustice. The court's decision was seen as an injustice by the marginalized community. Ink. The author signed copies of her book with a flourish of ink. Inmate. The prison guards conducted a head count to ensure all inmates were present. Innovation. Technological innovation has revolutionized many aspects of daily life. Innovative. The company prides itself on its innovative approach to product design. Input. Please provide your input on how we can improve our customer service. Inquire. Customers often inquire about the availability of certain products. Insert. Carefully insert the key into the lock and turn it clockwise. Insertion. The insertion of the new clause into the contract required unanimous approval. Insider. The insider trading scandal rocked the financial industry. Inspect. The quality control team will inspect the merchandise before shipment. Inspection. The car underwent a thorough inspection before being sold. Inspector. The building inspector checked the construction site for compliance with safety regulations. Inspiration. The breathtaking view from the mountaintop was a source of inspiration for the artist. Installation. The installation of solar panels on the roof will reduce energy costs. Instant. With instant messaging apps, communication has never been easier. Instantly. He recognized her instantly when she walked into the room. Instinct. His instinct told him to trust her, despite the evidence suggesting otherwise. Institutional. The university has several institutional policies governing student conduct. Instruct. The teacher will instruct the students on proper lab procedures. Instrumental. Her leadership was instrumental in the success of the project. Insufficient. The current budget allocation is insufficient to cover all expenses. Insult. His snide remark was perceived as an insult by his co-workers. Intact. Despite the accident, the package arrived intact. Intake. The intake of new recruits will be conducted next week. Integral. Clear communication is integral to effective teamwork. Integrate. The company aims to integrate sustainable practices into its operations. Integrated. The new software seamlessly integrated with existing systems. Integration. The integration of different cultures enriches our society. Integrity. Upholding integrity is essential for maintaining trust in relationships. Intellectual. The university boasts a renowned intellectual community. Intensify. The storm is expected to intensify as it moves closer to the coast. Intensity. The intensity of his emotions was evident in his passionate speech. Intensive. The course includes an intensive study of advanced mathematics. Intent. Her intent was to help, but her actions had unintended consequences. Interact. Students are encouraged to interact with each other during group activities. Interaction. The interaction between the characters drove the plot forward. Interactive. The website features interactive tutorials for learning new skills. Interface. The user interface of the app is intuitive and easy to navigate. Interfere. Please refrain from interfering while I'm working on this delicate task. Interference. The signal was disrupted by interference from nearby electronics. Interim. She served as interim CEO until a permanent replacement was found. Interior. The interior of the house was beautifully decorated with modern furnishings. Intermediate. The intermediate level course is designed for students with some prior knowledge. Interpretation. The interpretation of the data led to new insights into the problem. Intersection. The intersection of two major roads is a common site for accidents. Interval. The bus arrives at regular intervals throughout the day. Intervene. The teacher had to intervene when the students started arguing. Intervention. Early intervention is key to preventing the spread of infectious diseases. Intimate. They shared an intimate moment under the stars. Intriguing. The detective found the case to be particularly intriguing. Invade. The army was poised to invade the enemy territory at dawn. Invasion. The invasion of enemy forces caught the nation by surprise. Inventory. The store manager conducted an inventory of the merchandise. Investigator. The investigator questioned witnesses to gather evidence for the case. Investor. The investor decided to diversify her portfolio by investing in real estate. Invisible. The stealth technology rendered the aircraft virtually invisible to radar. Invoke. The lawyer invoked the right to remain silent on behalf of his client. Involvement. Her involvement in the community earned her a reputation as a dedicated volunteer. Ironic. It was ironic that the firefighter's house burned down despite his profession. Ironically. Ironically, the traffic jam cleared up just as we were about to turn around. Irony. The irony of the situation was not lost on anyone present. Irrelevant. His comment was irrelevant to the topic of discussion. Isolate. The medical team will isolate the infected patients to prevent the spread of the disease. Isolated. The small village was isolated from the rest of the world by rugged mountains. Isolation. The prisoner endured years of isolation in solitary confinement. Jail. The criminal was sentenced to 10 years in jail for his crimes. Jet. The jet soared through the sky at incredible speeds. Joint. The joint effort between the two companies led to the successful launch of the product. Journalism. Investigative journalism plays a crucial role in holding the powerful accountable. Judicial. The judicial system ensures that justice is served fairly and impartially. Jurisdiction. The case fell under the jurisdiction of the federal court. Jury. The jury deliberated for hours before reaching a verdict. Just. It's not just about winning, it's about how you play the game. Justification. He provided ample justification for his actions during the hearing. Keen. She had a keen eye for detail, which made her an excellent detective. Kidnap. The criminals planned to kidnap the heiress and demand a ransom. Kidney. He was diagnosed with kidney failure and required immediate treatment. Kindergarten. The kindergarten teacher organized a field trip to the zoo for her students. Kingdom. The ancient kingdom was known for its majestic castles and rich history. Kit. Make sure you have a first aid kit handy in case of emergencies. Ladder. He climbed the ladder to reach the top shelf in the garage. Landing. The airplane made a smooth landing despite the windy conditions. Landlord. The landlord raised the rent for the apartment complex. Landmark. The Statue of Liberty is a famous landmark in New York City. Lane. Stay in your lane and drive at a safe speed. Lap. The cat curled up in my lap and fell asleep. Large scale. The project involved a large-scale operation with teams working around the clock. Laser. The laser beam cut through the metal with precision. Lately. She's been feeling tired lately, so she's taking more breaks during the day. Ladder. In the latter part of his career, he focused on mentoring younger employees. Lawmaker. The lawmaker proposed a new bill to address environmental concerns. Lawn. The children played tag on the green lawn in front of the house. Lawsuit. The company faced a lawsuit for alleged discrimination in the workplace. Layout. The graphic designer created a sleek layout for the magazine. Leak. There was a leak in the roof, causing water damage to the ceiling. Leap. With a leap of faith, she decided to quit her job and pursue her passion. Legacy. His grandfather's legacy lived on through his charitable foundation. Legend. The legendary musician sold out stadiums around the world. Legendary. The coach was a legendary figure in the world of basketball. Legislation. The legislation aimed to protect endangered species from extinction. Legislative. The legislative branch of government is responsible for making laws. Legislature. The state legislature passed a bill to increase funding for education. Legitimate. The company operates a legitimate business that complies with all regulations. Lengthy. The meeting was lengthy, lasting well into the evening. Lens. The photographer attached a wide-angle lens to capture the panoramic view. Lesbian. She came out as a lesbian to her friends and family with overwhelming support. Lesser. Despite facing numerous challenges, he achieved success in his lesser-known field. Lethal. The venom of the snake proved to be lethal to its prey. Liable. As the driver of the car, he was held liable for the accident. Liberal. She held liberal views on social issues and advocated for equality and justice. Liberation. The country celebrated its liberation from colonial rule with great joy. Liberty. Freedom of speech is a fundamental liberty guaranteed by the Constitution. Lifelong. Their friendship had been lifelong, enduring through thick and thin. Lifetime. He received a Lifetime Achievement Award for his contributions to the arts. Lighting. The stage lighting created a dramatic atmosphere for the play. Likelihood. There's a high likelihood of rain tomorrow, so don't forget your umbrella. Likewise. He enjoys hiking, and likewise, she finds solace in nature. Limb. The injured soldier struggled to move his injured limb. Limitation. One limitation of the study was the small sample size. Linear. The graph showed a linear relationship between time and distance traveled. Lineup. The police asked the witness to identify the suspect from a lineup of photos. Linger. The scent of her perfume lingered in the air long after she left the room. Listing. The real estate agent showed them a listing for a charming cottage by the lake. Liter. He drank a liter of water after his long run to stay hydrated. Literacy. The literacy rate in the country has steadily increased over the years. Literally. He was literally jumping for joy when he received the good news. Literary. The literary world mourned the loss of the acclaimed author. Litter. Please don't litter, put your trash in the bin provided. Liver. Excessive alcohol consumption can lead to liver damage. Lobby. The lobbyists worked tirelessly to persuade lawmakers to support their cause. Log. The hikers sat around the campfire, adding another log to keep it burning. Logic. His argument was based on sound logic and reasoning. Logo. The company's logo was prominently displayed on their products. Long-standing. They had a long-standing tradition of hosting a family reunion every summer. Long time. She had been a long-time supporter of environmental conservation efforts. Loom. Dark clouds began to loom on the horizon, signaling an approaching storm. Lube. He ran around the track, completing one loop after another. Lottery. She bought a lottery ticket hoping to win the jackpot. Loyal. The dog remained loyal to its owner, even in difficult times. Loyalty. His loyalty to the company never wavered, even when offered a higher salary elsewhere. Lyric. The singer poured her heart into the emotional lyrics of the song. Machinery. The factory was equipped with state-of-the-art machinery for mass production. Magical. The children were captivated by the magician's magical tricks. Magnetic. The magnetic field of the earth helps guide migratory birds during their journey. Magnificent. The view from the mountaintop was truly magnificent, stretching for miles in every direction. Magnitude. The earthquake measured 7.2 on the Richter scale, indicating its immense magnitude. Mainland. The ferry transported passengers from the island to the mainland several times a day. Mainstream. The band's music was starting to gain traction in the mainstream music scene. Maintenance. Regular maintenance is essential to keep machinery running smoothly. Makeup. She applied a light makeup before heading out for the evening. Making. Cooking together was their favorite activity, making delicious meals and cherished memories. Mandate. The new law mandates the use of seat belts in all vehicles. Mandatory. Attendance at the safety training session is mandatory for all employees. Manifest. The artist's paintings often manifest themes of love and nature. Manipulate. The politician was accused of trying to manipulate public opinion through misleading statements. Manipulation. The magician's skillful manipulation of cards left the audience in awe. Manufacture. The company manufactures high-quality electronics at its facilities overseas. Manufacturing. The decline in manufacturing jobs has had a significant impact on the local economy. Manuscript. The author submitted her manuscript to several publishing houses in hopes of securing a book deal. Marathon. Running a marathon requires months of training and dedication. March. Protesters gathered in the streets to march against racial injustice. Margin. The candidate won the election by a narrow margin, securing victory by just a few percentage points. Marginal. The company decided to make marginal improvements to its products to stay competitive in the market. Marine. The marine biologist studied the diverse ecosystem of the coral reef. Marker. The red marker was used to highlight important points in the presentation. Marketplace. The Internet has become a vast marketplace where consumers can purchase goods from around the world. Martial. The martial arts instructor taught his students discipline and respect. Mask. Wearing a mask helps prevent the spread of respiratory illnesses like COVID-19. Massacre. The massacre of innocent civilians shocked the nation and sparked international condemnation. Mate. The male and female birds form a strong bond with their mate during the breeding season. Mathematical. The students struggled with the complex mathematical equations. Mature. She showed a mature attitude when handling difficult situations. Maximize. The company aimed to maximize profits while minimizing costs. Meaningful. The personalized gift held special meaning for the recipient. Meantime. The repairs will take some time, in the meantime, we can use the backup generator. Mechanic. The mechanic fixed the car's engine and got it running smoothly again. Mechanical. The mechanical engineer designed a new system to improve efficiency in the factory. Mechanism. The alarm clock's mechanism failed, causing it to stop working. Medal. She proudly displayed her gold medal from the swimming competition. Medication. The doctor prescribed medication to alleviate the patient's symptoms. Medieval. The medieval castle was a popular tourist attraction. Meditation. She found peace and clarity through daily meditation practice. Melody. The beautiful melody of the violin filled the concert hall. Membership. Becoming a member of the club grants you access to exclusive events and benefits. Memo. The memo from the CEO outlined the company's new strategic goals. Memoir. The actor wrote a memoir recounting his experiences in Hollywood. Memorable. Their trip to Paris was truly memorable, filled with unforgettable experiences. Memorial. The war memorial honored those who had sacrificed their lives for their country. Mentor. She sought guidance from her mentor, who had years of experience in the industry. Merchant. The merchant sold spices and fabrics from distant lands in his shop. Mercy. The judge showed mercy by sentencing the young offender to community service instead of jail time. Mere. It was a mere coincidence that they ran into each other at the coffee shop. Merely. He wasn't merely a teacher, he was a mentor and role model to his students. Merge. The two companies decided to merge, combining their resources and expertise. Merger. The merger between the two tech giants created a powerhouse in the industry. Merit. She received a scholarship based on her academic merit and extracurricular achievements. Metaphor. His love was like a raging storm, unpredictable and intense. Methodology. The study's methodology was carefully designed to ensure accurate results. Midst. In the midst of chaos, she remained calm and composed. Migration. The migration of birds south for the winter is a natural phenomenon. Militant. The militant group carried out attacks in the name of their cause. Militia. The militia was formed to defend the town in case of invasion. Mill. The old mill by the river had been converted into a charming cafe. Miner. The miner descended into the depths of the earth to extract precious minerals. Minimal. He made minimal effort to complete the assignment, resulting in a low grade. Minimize. She tried to minimize her carbon footprint by using public transportation. Mining. The mining industry played a crucial role in the region's economy. Ministry. She worked for the Ministry of Education, developing policies to improve schools. Minute. We'll meet in the conference room in 10 minutes. Miracle. The doctors called it a miracle when the patient recovered against all odds. Miserable. The rainy weather made everyone feel miserable and gloomy. Misery. The refugees fled their war-torn country in search of a life free from misery. Misleading. The advertisement was misleading, promising results that were too good to be true. Missile. The missile launch was a show of force by the military. Mob. A mob gathered outside the courthouse, demanding justice for the victim. Mobile. Mobile phones have become an essential part of modern life. Mobility. The city invested in improving mobility for pedestrians and cyclists. Mobilize. The charity mobilized volunteers to help with disaster relief efforts. Mode. The fashion industry is always changing, with new trends and modes emerging each season. Moderate. She held moderate views on social issues, advocating for compromise and understanding. Modest. Despite his success, he remained modest and humble. Modification. The modification to the design improved its functionality. Module. The course was divided into several modules, each focusing on a different aspect of the subject. Momentum. The campaign gained momentum as more people joined the cause. Monk. The monk spent his days in quiet contemplation at the monastery. Monopoly. The company held a monopoly on the market, controlling prices and supply. Monster. The monster under the bed was just a figment of his imagination. Monthly. She paid her rent monthly, on the first of every month. Monument. The statue in the town square was a monument to fallen soldiers. Morality. His actions raised questions about the morality of his decisions. Moreover, the study found that exercise also improved cognitive function. Mortgage. They took out a mortgage to buy their first house. Mosque. The mosque was a place of worship for the local Muslim community. Mosquito. The buzzing of mosquitoes kept them awake at night during camping trips. Motion. The motion of the waves was mesmerizing to watch. Motivate. She tried to motivate her team by setting clear goals and offering incentives. Motivation. His strong motivation to succeed propelled him to work hard and achieve his dreams. Motive. The detective searched for a motive behind the crime. Moving. The movie's touching ending left everyone in the audience feeling deeply moved. Municipal. Municipal services like garbage collection and road maintenance are essential for city living. Mutual. They had a mutual respect for each other's opinions, even when they disagreed. Myth. The legend of Atlantis has become a popular myth in literature and culture. Naked. He felt exposed and vulnerable standing naked in front of the crowd. Namely. There are several factors to consider, namely cost, time, and feasibility. Napkin. He tucked the napkin into his collar before digging into the messy barbecue. Narrative. The novel's narrative unfolded through multiple perspectives and timelines. Narrow. The path became narrow as they ventured deeper into the forest. Nasal. The nasal spray provided relief from his congestion during allergy season. Nation. The nation celebrated its independence with fireworks and parades. National. The national anthem played as the flag was raised in the stadium. Native. She was proud of her native country and its rich cultural heritage. Natural. The sunset cast a natural glow over the landscape, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. Naturally. Cats are naturally curious animals, always exploring their surroundings. Nature. Spending time in nature has been shown to reduce stress and improve overall well-being. Nausea. The boat's rocking motion caused waves of nausea in some passengers. Navigate. He navigated through the crowded streets using a map on his phone. Navigation. The navigation system guided them to their destination with turn directions. Navy. The Navy patrolled the waters, ensuring the safety of shipping lanes. Nearby. There's a convenience store nearby where we can grab some snacks. Neat. She kept her desk neat and organized, with everything in its proper place. Necessary. It's necessary to wear a helmet when riding a bike for safety. Necessity. Clean water is a necessity for human survival. Necktie. He adjusted his necktie before stepping into the job interview. Needle. She carefully threaded the needle before starting to sew. Needless. His comments were needless and only served to hurt her feelings. Negative. He had a negative attitude that often brought down the mood of the group. Neglect. The neglected garden was overgrown with weeds and wild flowers. Negotiate. They sat down to negotiate the terms of the contract. Negotiation. The negotiation process was long and arduous but ultimately successful. Neither. Neither option seemed appealing, so she decided to look for a third alternative. Nephew. Her nephew was the light of her life, always bringing joy and laughter. Nerve. She mustered up the nerve to ask her crush to the school dance. Nervous. He felt nervous before his first public speaking engagement. Nest. The birds built a cozy nest high up in the tree branches. Network. She expanded her professional network by attending industry conferences. Neutral. The mediator remained neutral, helping both parties reach a compromise. Never. She vowed never to let anyone hurt her like that again. Nevertheless. The weather was cold, nevertheless, they decided to go for a hike. Newcomer. As a newcomer to the city, she was eager to explore and make new friends. Newspaper. He read the newspaper every morning to stay informed about current events. Next. After finishing one task, they moved on to the next item on their to-do list. Niece. Her niece was the spitting image of her sister when she was young. Nightfall. Nightfall brought a sense of peace and tranquility to the countryside. Nightmare. She woke up screaming from a terrifying nightmare. Nimble. The gymnast demonstrated her nimble agility with each graceful movement. Nipple. The baby eagerly latched onto his mother's nipple to nurse. Nocturnal. Owls are nocturnal creatures, hunting for prey at night. Nod. He gave a quick nod of approval before turning his attention back to his work. Noise. The noise from the construction site made it difficult to concentrate. Nomad. The nomad traveled from place to place, never staying in one location for long. Nominate. They decided to nominate her for the leadership position due to her exceptional qualities. Nomination. Her nomination for the award came as a pleasant surprise. Non-profit. The organization operated as a non-profit, focusing on charitable initiatives. Nonetheless. He was tired, nonetheless, he pushed through to finish the project on time. Nonsense. His explanation was utter nonsense and didn't make any sense at all. Noon. The sun was directly overhead, signaling that it was noon. Norm. It's become the norm for people to communicate primarily through text messages. Notable. Her achievements in the field of science were notable and widely recognized. Notably. He was notably absent from the meeting, causing concern among his colleagues. Notebook. She jotted down ideas in her notebook to remember them later. Notify. Please notify me if there are any changes to the schedule. Notorious. The town had a notorious reputation for being haunted by ghosts. Novel. She spent months writing her first novel, pouring her heart and soul into the story. Novelist. The novelist captivated readers with her vivid descriptions and compelling characters. Nowadays. Nowadays, it's common for people to conduct business remotely using video conferencing. Nursery. The nursery was painted in soft pastel colors, creating a peaceful atmosphere for the baby. Nursing. She decided to pursue a career in nursing to help care for others in need. Nutrition. Proper nutrition is essential for maintaining good health and well-being. Obesity. The rise in obesity rates has become a significant public health concern. Objection. The defense attorney raised an objection during the trial. Oblige. He felt obliged to help his neighbor with her groceries. Observer. As an observer, he noticed subtle changes in the environment over time. Obsess. She would obsess over every detail of her artwork, striving for perfection. Obsession. His obsession with collecting vintage cars knew no bounds. Obstacle. Overcoming the obstacle proved to be a challenging but rewarding experience. Occasional. He enjoyed indulging in an occasional treat, but he tried to maintain a healthy diet overall. Occupation. His occupation as a firefighter required bravery and quick thinking in dangerous situations. Occupy. Protesters decided to occupy the park until their demands were met. Occurrence. The sudden occurrence of thunderstorms took everyone by surprise. Odds. Despite the odds stacked against them, they remained determined to succeed. Offender. The police apprehended the offender and took him into custody. Offering. The company's latest offering received rave reviews from consumers. Offspring. The proud parents admired their newborn offspring with love and awe. Ongoing. The ongoing construction work caused traffic delays in the city center. Openly. She openly expressed her opinions on social issues, never shying away from controversial topics. Opera. Attending the opera was a cultural experience unlike any other. Operational. The factory was fully operational, producing goods around the clock. Operator. The skilled operator efficiently controlled the heavy machinery. Opt. She decided to opt for the healthier option on the menu. Optical. The optical illusion made it seem like the lines were moving. Optimism. Despite the challenges, his optimism never wavered, believing in a brighter future. Optimistic. She remained optimistic about the outcome, focusing on the possibilities rather than the obstacles. Oral. The oral presentation was well received by the audience. Orchestra. The orchestra filled the concert hall with beautiful music. Organic. They preferred to buy organic produce, believing it to be healthier and better for the environment. Organizational. She excelled in her role due to her strong organizational skills. Orientation. The orientation session provided new employees with information about company policies and procedures. Originate. The idea for the new product originated during a brainstorming session. Outbreak. The sudden outbreak of illness led to widespread concern in the community. Outfit. She put together a stylish outfit for the party. Outing. The family enjoyed a fun outing to the zoo on the weekend. Outlet. The outlet mall offered discounted prices on designer brands. Outlook. Despite the setbacks, he maintained a positive outlook on life. Output. The factory increased its output to meet growing demand. Outrage. The community reacted with outrage to the unjust decision. Outsider. As an outsider, he often felt like he didn't belong. Outstanding. Her performance in the play was outstanding, earning her a standing ovation. Overcome. Despite the challenges, they were determined to overcome any obstacles in their way. Overlook. It's easy to overlook small details when you are focused on the big picture. Overly. She was overly cautious, always worrying about the worst-case scenario. Overnight. The success didn't come overnight, it was the result of years of hard work and dedication. Oversee. He was hired to oversee the construction project and ensure it stayed on schedule. Overturn. The court's decision to overturn the verdict was met with mixed reactions. Overwhelm. The sheer magnitude of the task overwhelmed him at first, but he soon found his rhythm. Ownership. The ownership of the property was transferred to the new owners after the paperwork was finalized. Oxygen. The divers relied on their oxygen tanks to explore the depths of the ocean. Packet. She tore open the packet to reveal the contents inside. Pad. He scribbled down a quick note on the pad of paper before rushing out the door. Palm. She held the seashell in the palm of her hand, feeling its smooth texture. Panic. Panic spread through the crowd as the fire alarm blared loudly. Parade. The annual Thanksgiving parade drew large crowds of spectators lining the streets. Parallel. The two roads ran parallel to each other, never intersecting. Parameter. The software engineer adjusted the parameters to optimize the program's performance. Parental. Parental guidance is crucial during a child's formative years. Parliament. Members of Parliament debated the proposed legislation late into the night. Partial. She felt a partial sense of relief knowing that the worst was behind her. Partially. The cake was only partially baked, so she put it back in the oven for a few more minutes. Participation. Active participation in class discussions is encouraged to enhance learning. Partnership. The business partners worked together to launch their new startup. Part-time. She took on a part-time job to help pay for her college tuition. Passing. The passing of a loved one is always a difficult experience to endure. Passionate. She was passionate about environmental conservation and dedicated herself to the cause. Passive. He took a passive approach to conflict resolution, preferring to avoid confrontation. Password. He forgot his password and had to reset it to regain access to his email account. Pastor. The pastor delivered a moving sermon to the congregation on Sunday morning. Patch. She sewed a patch onto the knee of her jeans to cover the hole. Patent. The inventor filed a patent for his groundbreaking technology to protect his intellectual property. Pathway. The pathway through the forest was illuminated by the soft glow of the moon. Patience. Developing patience is essential when learning a new skill. Patrol. The police officers conducted regular patrols of the neighborhood to ensure safety. Patron. He was a loyal patron of the local bookstore, visiting every week to browse the shelves. Pause. She pressed the pause button on the remote control to stop the movie momentarily. Peak. The mountain climbers reached the peak after a grueling ascent. Peasant. The peasant worked tirelessly in the fields to provide for his family. Peculiar. There was something peculiar about the old house at the end of the street. Peer. She glanced at her peer's paper to see how they answered the question. Penalty. He received a penalty for his reckless driving, resulting in a fine and points on his license. Pension. After retiring, she received a pension from her former employer to support herself. Perception. Our perception of reality is often influenced by our past experiences and beliefs. Permanently. The decision to move abroad was a permanent one, they sold their house and belongings. Persist. Despite facing numerous setbacks, she persisted in pursuing her dreams. Persistent. His persistent cough was a cause for concern, so he went to see a doctor. Personnel. The company hired new personnel to help with the increased workload. Petition. They started a petition to protest against the construction of a new highway through their neighborhood. Pharmacy. She stopped by the pharmacy to pick up her prescription medication. Philosopher. The philosopher pondered the meaning of life and the universe. Philosophical. Their discussion turned philosophical as they debated the nature of existence. Physician. The physician examined the patient and prescribed medication for their illness. Pill. She swallowed a pill to ease her headache. Pioneer. He was a pioneer in the field of renewable energy, revolutionizing the way we harness power. Pipeline. The pipeline ruptured, causing a massive oil spill. Pirate. The pirate sailed the high seas in search of treasure. Pit. The workers descended into the pit to extract coal from the mine. Pity. She felt a sense of pity for the stray dog wandering the streets. Placement. The placement of the furniture in the room was carefully thought out to maximize space. Plea. The defendant entered a plea of not guilty during the court hearing. Plead. She tried to plead with her boss for more time to complete the project. Pledge. He made a pledge to donate a portion of his earnings to charity every month. Plug. She inserted the plug into the socket to charge her phone. Plunge. The stock market took a plunge after the unexpected announcement. Pole. He gripped the fishing pole tightly, waiting for a bite. Poll. The poll revealed that the majority of respondents supported the new policy. Pond. The children skipped stones across the surface of the pond on a sunny afternoon. Pop. The balloon made a loud pop when it burst. Portfolio. She presented her portfolio of artwork to the gallery curator. Portion. He divided the pizza into equal portions to share with his friends. Portray. The actor skillfully portrayed the character's emotions in the dramatic scene. Postpone. They decided to postpone the meeting until next week due to scheduling conflicts. Post-war. The country struggled to rebuild its infrastructure in the post-war period. Potentially. The new discovery had the potential to revolutionize the field of medicine. Practitioner. She was a licensed practitioner of alternative medicine. Preach. The minister preached a sermon on forgiveness and redemption. Precede. The appetizers will precede the main course during the dinner party. Precedent. The court's decision set a precedent for future cases involving similar circumstances. Precious. The necklace was a family heirloom and held precious sentimental value. Precise. The architect made precise measurements to ensure the building's structural integrity. Precisely. She followed the recipe precisely to bake the perfect cake. Precision. The precision of his aim was crucial for hitting the target. Predator. The lion prowled through the grassland, searching for its next prey. Predecessor. The new CEO aimed to surpass the achievements of her predecessor. Predictable. His behavior was predictable, always following the same patterns. Predominantly. The city's population was predominantly made up of young professionals. Preference. She expressed a preference for tea over coffee. Pregnancy. The couple announced their pregnancy to their family and friends. Prejudice. Prejudice based on race or ethnicity has no place in modern society. Preliminary. The team conducted preliminary research before launching the project. Premiere. The film had its premiere at the prestigious Cannes Film Festival. Premise. The entire argument rested on the premise that all humans are equal. Premium. He paid a premium price for the designer shoes. Prescribe. The doctor will prescribe antibiotics to treat the infection. Prescription. She filled her prescription at the pharmacy. Presently. Presently, he is working on a new novel. Preservation. The preservation of historical landmarks is important for future generations. Preside. The judge will preside over the trial. Presidency. The presidency of the country changed hands after the election. Presidential. The presidential candidate delivered a powerful speech to rally supporters. Prestigious. Winning the Nobel Prize is a prestigious honor in the scientific community. Presumably. The meeting will start at 10 a.m., presumably, unless there are delays. Presume. We can't presume to know everything about a person based on appearances. Prevail. Despite the odds, she managed to prevail and achieve her goals. Prevalence. The prevalence of smartphones has changed the way we communicate. Prevention. Prevention is key when it comes to avoiding illness. Prey. The hawk swooped down to catch its prey. Pride. He felt a sense of pride as he watched his daughter graduate from college. Primarily. The company's profits primarily come from its online sales. Principal. The principal of the school announced new policies for student conduct. Prior. Please complete the assignment prior to the deadline. Privatization. The government announced plans for the privatization of state-owned enterprises. Privilege. It is a privilege to have access to education. Probability. The probability of winning the lottery is extremely low. Probable. It is probable that it will rain later this afternoon. Probe. The investigator launched a probe into the financial irregularities. Problematic. The new software update caused problematic glitches in the system. Proceed. The project will proceed as planned. Proceeding. The legal proceeding lasted for several months before reaching a verdict. Proceeds. The proceeds from the charity event went towards funding medical research. Processing. The processing of visa applications can take several weeks. Processor. The computer's processor is responsible for executing tasks. Proclaim. The mayor proclaimed the day as a citywide holiday. Productive. The team had a productive meeting and came up with several innovative ideas. Productivity. Implementing time management techniques can improve productivity in the workplace. Profitable. The company's expansion into new markets proved to be highly profitable. Profound. The philosopher's words had a profound impact on the audience. Programming. Learning programming languages opens up opportunities in the tech industry. Progressive. The country implemented progressive policies to address social inequalities. Prohibit. The sign clearly prohibits parking in this area. Projection. The company's sales projection for the next quarter looks promising. Prominent. She is a prominent figure in the field of medicine. Promising. The new startup has a promising future in the tech industry. Promotion. She received a promotion for her outstanding performance at work. Prompt. His prompt response to the emergency situation saved lives. Pronounced. The effects of climate change are becoming more pronounced each year. Propaganda. The government used propaganda to influence public opinion. Proportion. The proportion of elderly citizens in the population is increasing. Proposition. He put forward a proposition to improve public transportation. Prosecute. The district attorney decided to prosecute the case. Prosecution. The prosecution presented compelling evidence against the defendant. Prosecutor. The prosecutor interrogated the witness during the trial. Prospective. Prospective buyers toured the property before making an offer. Prosperity. Economic prosperity can lead to improved living standards for all. Protective. Wearing sunscreen is essential for protective against harmful UV rays. Protein. Athletes often consume protein supplements to aid in muscle recovery. Protester. The protesters marched through the streets, chanting slogans. Protocol. Following proper protocol is important in diplomatic negotiations. Province. The governor toured the province to assess the damage caused by the earthquake. Provincial. Some people prefer the slower pace of life in provincial towns. Provision. The contract includes a provision for severance pay in case of termination. Provoke. His inflammatory remarks were intended to provoke a reaction. Psychiatric. The psychiatric hospital provides specialized care for patients with mental illnesses. Psychological. The psychological impact of the trauma affected her for years. Publicity. The new product launch received widespread publicity in the media. Publishing. She works in the publishing industry as an editor. Pulse. The doctor checked the patient's pulse to assess their heart rate. Pump. The pump is used to extract water from the well. Punch. He delivered a powerful punch that knocked out his opponent. Punk. The punk rock band played at the local music festival. Purely. His decision was purely based on personal preference. Pursuit. She dedicated her life to the pursuit of justice. Puzzle. Solving puzzles can help improve cognitive abilities. Query. If you have any queries, feel free to ask the customer service representative. Quest. The knight embarked on a quest to rescue the princess from the dragon. Questionnaire. Please fill out the questionnaire to provide feedback on your experience. Quota. The company set a quota for sales targets to be met by the end of the month. Racial. Discrimination based on racial identity is illegal. Racism. The organization is dedicated to combating racism in all its forms. Racist. His racist comments offended many people in the community. Radar. The radar detected incoming enemy aircraft. Radiation. Exposure to radiation can have harmful effects on the body. Radical. The group advocated for radical social change. Rage. He was filled with rage when he heard the news. Raid. The police conducted a raid on the illegal gambling den. Rail. The train travels along the rail tracks to its destination. Rally. The political rally drew thousands of supporters. Random. He chose a random number from the hat for the raffle. Ranking. The team's ranking in the league improved after their recent victories. Rape. The survivor bravely spoke out about her experience of rape. Rat. The exterminator set traps to catch the rats infesting the building. Rating. The movie received a 5-star rating from most critics. Ratio. The ratio of men to women in the workplace has been steadily improving. Rational. It's important to approach the decision from a rational perspective. Ray. The sun's rays warmed the earth on a chilly morning. Readily. She readily agreed to help her friend with the project. Realization. His realization of the impact of his actions led to deep remorse. Realm. The novel explores the realm of fantasy and magic. Rear. The rear of the house overlooked a beautiful garden. Reasonably. The prices at the restaurant were reasonably affordable. Reasoning. His reasoning behind the decision was sound. Reassure. He tried to reassure his daughter that everything would be okay. Rebel. The rebels fought against the oppressive regime. Rebellion. The rebellion against the tyrannical government spread across the country. Rebuild. The community came together to rebuild after the devastating hurricane. Receiver. She answered the phone when the receiver rang. Recession. The economy entered a recession, leading to widespread job losses. Recipient. She was honored as the recipient of the prestigious award. Reckon. I reckon we'll need to leave early to avoid the traffic. Recognition. His hard work finally earned him recognition from his peers. Reconstruction. The reconstruction of the historic building was a massive undertaking. Recovery. The patient made a remarkable recovery after the surgery. Recruit. The army began to recruit new soldiers for the upcoming mission. Recruitment. The company's recruitment process is thorough and competitive. Referee. The referee blew the whistle to signal the end of the game. Referendum. The citizens voted in a referendum to decide on the new law. Reflection. She stared at her reflection in the mirror, lost in thought. Reform. The government promised to implement reforms to improve healthcare. Refuge. The refugee camp provided shelter for those fleeing the war-torn region. Refugee. The family sought refuge in a neighboring country to escape the conflict. Refusal. Despite his refusal to cooperate, they managed to convince him to help. Regain. With determination, she hoped to regain her lost confidence. Regardless. He continued with his plans regardless of the obstacles in his way. Regime. The oppressive regime cracked down on political dissent. Registration. The registration process for the conference was straightforward. Regulate. It's important to regulate the use of natural resources to protect the environment. Regulator. The government appointed a regulator to oversee the banking industry. Regulatory. The company complied with all regulatory requirements. Rehabilitation. The rehabilitation center helped addicts overcome their dependencies. Reign. The monarch's reign lasted for over 5 decades. Reinforce. The reinforcements arrived just in time to support the troops. Rejection. Despite the rejection, he remained determined to pursue his dreams. Relevance. The relevance of the study to real-world applications was questioned. Reliability. The reliability of the new technology was put to the test. Relieve. The medication helped relieve her chronic pain. Relieved. She felt relieved when she heard the good news. Reluctant. He was reluctant to accept help from others. Remainder. The remainder of the cake was saved for later. Remains. The archaeologists discovered the remains of an ancient civilization. Remarkable. His recovery was nothing short of remarkable. Remarkably. The team performed remarkably well despite the odds. Remedy. The herbal remedy helped alleviate her symptoms. Reminder. She set a reminder on her phone to buy groceries. Removal. The removal of the old trees made space for a new park. Render. The artist rendered the landscape in stunning detail. Renew. They decided to renew their vows on their 25th wedding anniversary. Renowned. The chef was renowned for his culinary skills. Rental. They signed a rental agreement for a furnished apartment. Replacement. The mechanic installed a replacement part in the car. Reportedly. The movie star was reportedly seen dining at a local restaurant. Reporting. The journalists' reporting shed light on the corruption scandal. Representation. The painting was a representation of the artist's inner turmoil. Reproduce. The researchers were able to reproduce the experiment's results. Reproduction. The reproduction of the painting captured every detail. Republic. The country transitioned from a monarchy to a republic. Resemble. The twins closely resembled each other in appearance. Reside. They chose to reside in the countryside for a quieter lifestyle. Residence. Their new residence had a stunning view of the ocean. Residential. The area was zoned for residential development. Residue. The residue left behind by the chemical spill was toxic. Resign. The CEO was forced to resign amid allegations of misconduct. Resignation. Her resignation from the company came as a shock to her colleagues. Resistance. The resistance movement fought against the oppressive regime. Resolution. The United Nations passed a resolution condemning the violence. Respective. Each member of the team has their respective responsibilities. Respectively. The siblings were born in 1990 and 1992, respectively. Restoration. The restoration of the historic monument was a collaborative effort. Restore. Their goal was to restore the old farmhouse to its former glory. Restraint. She showed great restraint in not reacting angrily to the provocation. Restrict. The new law sought to restrict the use of plastic bags to reduce pollution. Restriction. There was a restriction on the number of guests allowed at the event. Resume. After a short break, they resumed their journey towards the summit. Resume. She sent her resume to several companies in hopes of finding a job. Retail. The company specialized in retailing fashionable clothing. Retirement. After decades of hard work, he finally enjoyed a peaceful retirement. Retreat. The army was forced to retreat in the face of enemy advances. Retrieve. He managed to retrieve his lost wallet from the taxi. Revelation. The revelation of his true identity shocked everyone. Revenge. Seeking revenge only perpetuates the cycle of violence. Revenue. The company's revenue increased significantly after the merger. Reverse. She had to reverse the car out of the narrow alley. Revision. The author made several revisions to the manuscript before publication. Revival. The revival of interest in traditional crafts breathed new life into the industry. Revive. CPR was administered in an attempt to revive the unconscious patient. Revolutionary. The invention of the Internet was a revolutionary development in communication. Rhetoric. His speech was filled with empty rhetoric and lacked substance. Ridiculous. The idea that cats can fly is utterly ridiculous. Rifle. The soldier carefully aimed his rifle at the enemy target. Riot. The protest turned into a riot when clashes broke out with the police. Rib. He accidentally ripped his pants while climbing over the fence. Risky. Investing in the stock market can be risky if you are not careful. Ritual. The religious ritual was performed with solemnity and reverence. Rival. The two companies were fierce rivals in the tech industry. Rob. The thieves managed to rob the bank and escape with the loot. Robbery. The jewelry store was the target of a daring robbery. Robust. The company's robust financial performance impressed investors. Rock. The children enjoyed climbing the giant rock in the park. Rocket. The space agency launched a new rocket into orbit. Rod. He used a fishing rod to catch trout in the river. Romance. The romantic movie was a favorite among couples. Rookie. The rookie firefighter showed bravery during her first rescue mission. Rose. She received a bouquet of red roses on Valentine's Day. Roster. The team's roster included some of the best players in the league. Rotate. It's important to rotate crops to maintain soil fertility. Rotation. The rotation of crops helped prevent soil erosion. Roughly. The estimate was roughly calculated based on available data. Ruin. The abandoned mansion had fallen into ruin over the years. Ruling. The court's ruling set a precedent for future cases. Rumor. There was a rumor circulating about the company's upcoming layoffs. Sacred. The temple was considered a sacred place of worship. Sacrifice. Soldiers often make great sacrifices for their country. Saint. Mother Teresa was recognized as a saint for her humanitarian work. Sake. He did it for the sake of his family's happiness. Sanction. The United Nations imposed sanctions on the country for violating human rights. Satisfaction. She felt a sense of satisfaction after completing the project. Say. You have the right to say whatever you believe. Scandal. The politician's involvement in the scandal tarnished his reputation. Scare. The sudden noise gave her a scare. Scattered. The scattered clouds provided some relief from the sun. Scenario. They discussed various scenarios for dealing with the crisis. Scholar. He was a renowned scholar in the field of astrophysics. Scholarship. She received a scholarship to study abroad. Scope. The project's scope was expanded to include additional features. Scratch. He got a scratch on his arm from climbing the fence. Screening. The airport implemented strict screening procedures for passengers. Screw. He tightened the screw to secure the shelf to the wall. Scrutiny. The company's finances came under scrutiny during the audit. Seal. The letter was sealed with wax before being delivered. Secondly, we need to consider the long-term implications of the decision. Secular. The country had a secular government that separated religion from state affairs. Seeker. She was a seeker of truth, always searching for deeper meaning. Seemingly. Seemingly overnight, the small startup became a multinational corporation. Segment. The TV show was divided into segments for different topics. Seize. The police seized a large quantity of illegal drugs in the raid. Seldom. He seldom went out at night, preferring to stay home and read. Selective. The university had a selective admissions process for its prestigious programs. Seminar. She attended a seminar on financial planning for retirement. Sensation. The new restaurant became a sensation, attracting customers from all over. Sensitivity. He showed sensitivity towards her feelings and listened attentively. Sentiment. The sentiment of the crowd turned from excitement to disappointment. Separation. The separation of church and state is a fundamental principle in many democracies. Serial. The crime was featured in a popular serial documentary on television. Settlement. The parties reached a settlement before the case went to trial. Settler. The town was founded by early settlers seeking a new life. Setup. The setup for the experiment required careful calibration of equipment. Severely. The drought severely impacted the region's agricultural production. Sexuality. Discussions about sexuality should be handled with sensitivity and respect. Sexy. She felt empowered and sexy in her new outfit. Shaped. His experiences growing up shaped his worldview and values. Shareholder. As a shareholder, she had a vested interest in the company's success. Shatter. The vase fell to the ground and shattered into 1,000 pieces. Shed. The trees shed their leaves in preparation for winter. Sheer. The sheer cliffs of the mountain made it a challenging climb. Shipping. The company offered free shipping for orders over $50. Shocking. The news of the accident was shocking to everyone. Shoot. The photographer waited patiently for the perfect moment to shoot the sunset. Shore. They walked along the shore, collecting seashells as they went. Shortage. There was a shortage of food and clean water in the refugee camp. Shortly. Shortly after the ceremony, they boarded the plane for their honeymoon. Short term. The company's short-term goals focused on increasing market share. Shrink. The sweater shrank in the wash and no longer fit properly. Shrugged. He shrugged his shoulders in response to the question. Sibling. She had a close bond with her sibling, despite their occasional disagreements. Sidewalk. They strolled along the sidewalk, enjoying the warm summer evening. Sigh. She let out a sigh of relief when she finally finished her exams. Signature. His signature was required to finalize the contract. Significance. The discovery held great significance for the field of archaeology. Simulate. The flight simulator allowed pilots to simulate various weather conditions. Simulation. The engineers ran a simulation to test the structural integrity of the bridge. Single-handedly. He single-handedly built his business from the ground up. Skeptic. She was a skeptic and questioned everything she heard. Skilled. He was a skilled craftsman, capable of creating intricate designs. Skyrocket. The price of housing in the city has skyrocketed in recent years. Slavery. The abolition of slavery was a significant milestone in human rights history. Sleek. The new sports car had a sleek design that turned heads. Slightly. She adjusted the temperature slightly to make the room more comfortable. Slippery. The path was slippery after the rain, so they walked carefully. Slope. The skiers navigated down the steep slope with skill and precision. Smash. He accidentally smashed the glass when he dropped it. Smuggle. The criminals attempted to smuggle drugs across the border. Snack. They enjoyed a light snack before dinner. Sneak. He tried to sneak past the guard without being noticed. Snippet. She read a snippet of the article to give them a taste of what it was about. Soak. The sponge quickly soaked up the spilled water. Soar. The eagle soared high above the mountains. Socialize. It's important for children to socialize with their peers. Solidarity. The community showed solidarity in supporting those affected by the disaster. Solo. He performed a solo piano piece at the concert. Sophisticated. The software had a sophisticated algorithm for analyzing data. Sort. She helped him sort through his belongings before moving. Sought. He sought advice from his mentor when facing a difficult decision. Soundtrack. The movie had an epic soundtrack that enhanced the viewing experience. Sovereignty. The nation fought for its sovereignty and independence. Span. The bridge spanned the river, connecting the two sides of the city. Spare. Do you have a spare pen I could borrow? Spatial. The spatial awareness of the architect was evident in the design of the building. Specialize. She chose to specialize in pediatric medicine. Speculate. Analysts speculated about the impact of the new policy on the economy. Spectrum. The colors of the rainbow cover a wide spectrum of hues. Speculative. Investing in the stock market can be speculative and risky. Spontaneous. They decided on a spontaneous road trip and left the same day. Spotlight. The singer was thrust into the spotlight after winning the talent competition. Spouse. Her spouse surprised her with a romantic dinner for their anniversary. Sprawl. The city sprawled out over the landscape, with buildings as far as the eye could see. Spur. The success of the team helped spur interest in the sport. Squander. He squandered his inheritance on frivolous purchases. Stability. The political stability of the region attracted foreign investors. Stagger. He staggered under the weight of the heavy boxes. Stalemate. The negotiations reached a stalemate, with neither side willing to compromise. Stamina. Marathon runners need to have excellent stamina to complete the race. Standardize. The company standardized its procedures to improve efficiency. Staple. Rice is a staple food in many cultures around the world. Stark. The contrast between the lush valley and barren mountains was stark. Statement. Her statement to the press clarified the company's position on the matter. Stationary. The car was stationary at the traffic light. Statistic. The statistic showed a decrease in unemployment rates. Steep. The hike up the mountain was steep and challenging. Stellar. Her performance in the play received stellar reviews from critics. Stimulate. The new advertising campaign aimed to stimulate interest in the product. Stir. The smell of freshly baked cookies stirred memories of childhood. Stockpile. The government began to stockpile essential supplies in preparation for the storm. Strain. He strained his back while lifting heavy boxes. Striking. The painting had a striking composition that captivated viewers. Stringent. The company had stringent security measures in place to protect sensitive information. Strive. She continued to strive for excellence in her academic pursuits. Stubborn. His stubborn refusal to compromise led to conflict within the team. Subdue. The police were able to subdue the suspect without the use of force. Sublime. The view from the mountaintop was absolutely sublime. Submission. The submission deadline for the essay contest was quickly approaching. Subsequent. The subsequent chapters of the book delved deeper into the protagonist's backstory. Subside. After the storm passed, the winds began to subside. Subsidize. The government provided subsidies to farmers to encourage agricultural production. Substantial. The company reported a substantial increase in profits for the quarter. Substantiate. He was unable to substantiate his claims with any concrete evidence. Subtle. She made subtle changes to the recipe to enhance the flavor. Suburb. They decided to move to the suburbs for a quieter, more family-friendly environment. Subvert. The rebels sought to subvert the authority of the ruling regime. Succession. The succession of kings was marked by periods of stability and upheaval. Succinct. His succinct explanation of the problem clarified the issue for everyone. Sufficient. They had sufficient food and water to last them through the camping trip. Suggestive. The painting was suggestive of deeper emotions and themes. Summarize. Can you summarize the main points of the presentation for me? Summit. The climbers reached the summit of the mountain just before sunset. Superb. The meal they had at the restaurant was superb, with every dish perfectly prepared. Superfluous. The extra decorations seemed superfluous and unnecessary. Superior. The quality of their products was far superior to those of their competitors. Supplant. The new technology threatened to supplant traditional methods of production. Suppress. The government sought to suppress dissent and maintain control over the population. Supreme. The court's decision was seen as the supreme authority on the matter. Surge. A surge of excitement swept through the crowd as the band took the stage. Surgeon. The skilled surgeon performed the delicate operation with precision. Surgical. She underwent surgical treatment to repair the damage to her knee. Surplus. The surplus of goods led to a decrease in prices. Surrender. The army was forced to surrender after weeks of fighting. Surveillance. The government increased surveillance in response to the growing threat of terrorism. Survival. Their survival in the wilderness depended on their ability to find food and shelter. Survivor. She was the sole survivor of the plane crash. Suspicion. There was suspicion that he had been involved in the robbery. Suspicious. His behavior seemed suspicious, so they decided to investigate further. Sustain. The charity relied on donations to sustain its operations. Sustainable. They implemented sustainable practices to reduce their environmental impact. Swallow. He took a deep swallow of water to quench his thirst. Swing. The pendulum continued to swing back and forth in a steady rhythm. Sword. The knight wielded his sword with skill and precision in battle. Symbolic. The handshake was symbolic of their agreement to work together. Sympathetic. She was sympathetic to his plight and offered to help in any way she could. Syndrome. Down syndrome is characterized by certain physical and developmental traits. Synthesis. The synthesis of different ideas led to a breakthrough in scientific research. Systematic. The investigation followed a systematic approach to gather evidence. Tackle. The football player executed a perfect tackle to stop the opponent. Tactic. Their marketing tactic involved targeting a younger demographic. Tactical. The military developed a tactical plan to capture the enemy stronghold. Tag. She placed a tag on the suitcase to identify it as hers. Tap. He used a hammer to tap the nail into the wood. Taxpayer. As a taxpayer, she was concerned about how her money was being spent. Technological. The company invested in technological advancements to improve efficiency. Teen. Being a teen can be challenging as you navigate through adolescence. Temple. The ancient temple stood as a testament to the civilization's architectural prowess. Temporarily. The store was temporarily closed for renovations. Tempt. The aroma of freshly baked cookies tempted her to indulge. Tenant. The landlord had trouble finding a new tenant for the apartment. Tendency. He had a tendency to procrastinate when it came to completing tasks. Tender. The meat was so tender that it practically melted in your mouth. Tension. There was tension in the air as the two rivals faced off. Tenure. She served a 5-year tenure as the company's CEO. Terminal. The patient's condition was terminal, and there was little hope for recovery. Terminate. The company decided to terminate the employee due to poor performance. Terms. They negotiated the terms of the contract before signing it. Terrain. The hikers navigated the rugged terrain of the mountain with caution. Terribly. The news of the accident affected him terribly, leaving him in shock. Terrific. The party was a terrific success, with everyone having a great time. Terrify. The horror movie was so scary that it could terrify even the bravest souls. Territory. The wolf marked its territory by spraying urine around the perimeter. Terror. The citizens lived in constant terror of the dictator's oppressive regime. Terrorism. The government vowed to combat terrorism with all its resources. Terrorist. The authorities apprehended the suspected terrorist before he could carry out his plans. Testify. The witness was called to testify during the trial. Testimony. Her testimony provided crucial evidence in the court case. Testing. The scientists conducted rigorous testing to ensure the safety of the new drug. Textbook. The textbook provided comprehensive information on the subject. Texture. The rough texture of the fabric made it uncomfortable to wear. Thankfully. Thankfully, no one was injured in the car accident. Theatrical. His gestures were so dramatic that they bordered on theatrical. Theft. The theft of valuable artwork from the museum shocked the community. Theology. He studied theology in college, delving into the philosophical aspects of religion. Theoretical. The theoretical framework provided a basis for further experimentation. Therapist. She sought the help of a therapist to deal with her anxiety. Thereafter. He resigned from his position, and thereafter, pursued a career in writing. Thereby. She completed her training and thereby became certified to practice law. Thesis. Her thesis explored the relationship between art and politics in the 20th century. Thorough. He conducted a thorough investigation to uncover the truth. Thoroughly. The dishes were thoroughly cleaned before being put away. Thoughtful. She received a thoughtful gift from her friend on her birthday. Thread. She carefully threaded the needle before starting to sew. Threshold. He stood at the threshold of a new beginning as he graduated from college. Thrilled. She was thrilled when she found out she got the job. Thrive. Despite the challenges, the small business managed to thrive. Thumb. She pressed her thumb against the biometric scanner to gain access. Tide. The tide slowly receded, revealing the treasures hidden beneath the ocean's surface. Tighten. He used a wrench to tighten the bolt securely. Timber. The forest was abundant with tall timber ready for harvesting. Timely. The delivery arrived just in time for the event. Timing. The timing of his proposal couldn't have been more perfect. Tissue. She reached for a tissue to wipe away her tears. Tobacco. The tobacco industry has faced increased scrutiny in recent years. Tolerance. The community prided itself on its tolerance and acceptance of diversity. Tolerate. Despite their differences, they learned to tolerate each other's quirks. Toll. The toll of the bell signaled the start of the ceremony. Top. The mountain climbers reached the top of the peak just before sunset. Torture. The prisoner endured days of torture before finally confessing. Toss. He tossed the ball to his dog, who eagerly chased after it. Total. The total cost of the project exceeded their initial budget. Tournament. The tennis tournament attracted players from all over the world. Toxic. Exposure to toxic chemicals can have serious health consequences. Trace. The detective searched for any trace of evidence at the crime scene. Trademark. The company's logo is a registered trademark. Trading. He made a living by trading stocks on the stock market. Tragedy. The sudden loss of her parents was a tragedy she struggled to overcome. Tragic. The car accident resulted in a tragic loss of life. Trail. They followed the trail through the forest, hoping it would lead them to safety. Trailer. They watched the trailer for the new movie and were eager to see it. Trait. Kindness is just one of her many admirable traits. Transaction. The transaction was completed smoothly with the swipe of a credit card. Transcript. She requested a transcript of her academic record from the university. Transformation. The caterpillar undergoes a remarkable transformation into a butterfly. Transit. The city invested in improving public transit to reduce traffic congestion. Transmission. The transmission of information through the Internet has revolutionized communication. Transmit. The radio tower can transmit signals over long distances. Transparency. The organization prided itself on its commitment to transparency in its operations. Transparent. The glass was transparent, allowing sunlight to filter into the room. Trap. The spider built a web to trap its prey. Trauma. The accident left her with emotional trauma that took years to heal. Treasure. They stumbled upon a hidden treasure buried beneath the old oak tree. Treaty. The two countries signed a peace treaty to end the conflict. Tremendous. The team made a tremendous effort and won the championship. Tribal. The indigenous tribe has lived in the area for centuries. Tribe. The tribe gathered around the fire to listen to stories passed down through generations. Tribute. The memorial served as a tribute to those who had lost their lives in the war. Trigger. The sound of fireworks could trigger memories of combat for veterans. Trillion. The national debt had surpassed trillions of dollars. Trio. The band consisted of a trio of musicians who played guitar, drums, and bass. Triumph. Despite the odds, their team achieved a remarkable triumph. Troop. The troop of Boy Scouts set off on a camping trip in the wilderness. Trophy. She proudly displayed her trophy on the mantelpiece. Troubled. The troubled youth found solace in art and music. Trustee. He was appointed as a trustee to manage the funds for the charity. Tsunami. The tsunami devastated coastal communities, leaving destruction in its wake. Tuition. The university announced an increase in tuition fees for the upcoming academic year. Tumor. The doctor found a tumor during the routine medical examination. Turnout. The turnout for the charity event exceeded all expectations. Turnover. The company experienced a high turnover rate as employees sought better opportunities elsewhere. Twist. The plot of the mystery novel took an unexpected twist in the final chapters. Ultimate. His ultimate goal was to become a successful entrepreneur. Unacceptable. The behavior displayed by the employee was completely unacceptable in the workplace. Uncertainty. The uncertainty surrounding the future of the economy made investors nervous. Unconstitutional. The court ruled that the new law was unconstitutional and therefore invalid. Undergo. She had to undergo surgery to remove the tumor from her brain. Undergraduate. He was pursuing his undergraduate degree in engineering at the university. Underlying. There seemed to be an underlying tension between the two colleagues. Undermine. His constant criticism began to undermine her confidence in her abilities. Undertake. The company decided to undertake a comprehensive review of its operations. Undoubtedly. She was undoubtedly the most qualified candidate for the job. Unfold. The events of the evening began to unfold in a way that no one had expected. Unfortunate. It was unfortunate that the weather had to ruin their outdoor picnic. Unify. The leader's goal was to unify the country and bring people together. Unite. The community came together to unite against a common enemy. Unity. There was a sense of unity among the team members as they worked towards a shared goal. Universal. Love is considered a universal emotion that transcends cultural boundaries. Unprecedented. The level of support for the new initiative was unprecedented in the organization's history. Unveil. The company planned to unveil its latest product at the upcoming trade show. Upcoming. She was excited about the upcoming vacation to Europe. Upgrade. They decided to upgrade their computer systems to improve efficiency. Uphold. It was his duty to uphold the values and principles of the organization. Urgent. The situation required urgent attention from the authorities. Usage. The overusage of natural resources was causing environmental damage. Useless. His attempts to fix the broken machine were useless without the right tools. Utility. The utility company was responsible for providing electricity and water to the city. Utilize. They needed to utilize all available resources to complete the project on time. Utterly. The room was utterly silent after his powerful speech. Vacuum. She ran the vacuum cleaner over the carpet to remove the dust. Vague. His instructions were vague, leaving everyone confused about what to do next. Valid. The coupon was no longer valid as it had expired. Validity. The validity of his argument was questioned by many of his peers. Vanish. The magician made the rabbit vanish into thin air. Variable. The variable weather made it difficult to plan outdoor activities. Variation. There was a wide variation in the prices of similar products at different stores. Varied. The menu offered a varied selection of dishes to cater to different tastes. Vein. The nurse inserted the needle into the vein to draw blood for the test. Venture. They decided to venture into the unknown and start their own business. Verbal. She preferred to have a verbal agreement rather than a written contract. Verdict. The jury reached a verdict after hours of deliberation. Verify. Please verify your email address by clicking on the link in the confirmation email. Verse. She recited a beautiful verse from her favorite poem. Verses. The debate was framed as capitalism versus socialism. Vertical. The skyscraper soared into the sky with its vertical design. Vessel. The ship was a sturdy vessel capable of withstanding rough seas. Veteran. He was a veteran of the Vietnam War, with decades of military service. Viable. The proposed plan was not economically viable and was rejected by the board. Vibrant. The city's Chinatown was always vibrant with colorful decorations and lively activity. Vice. Smoking was his only vice, despite numerous attempts to quit. Vicious. The vicious dog growled and bared its teeth at anyone who came near. Viewpoint. Each character in the story had a different viewpoint on the situation. Violate. It is against the law to violate someone's privacy without their consent. Violation. The company was fined for environmental violations. Virtue. Honesty is considered a virtue in many cultures. Visa. He needed to apply for a visa before traveling to the foreign country. Visible. The stars were clearly visible in the night sky away from the city lights. Vocal. She was vocal about her opinions on social justice issues. Voluntary. Voluntary work at the local shelter was a rewarding experience. Voting. Voting in elections is a fundamental right in a democratic society. Vow. They exchanged vows of love and commitment on their wedding day. Vulnerability. The child's illness highlighted his vulnerability to infections. Vulnerable. The elderly are more vulnerable to heat stroke during heat waves. Wander. They like to wander through the forest, exploring its hidden paths. Ward. The hospital had a special ward for patients recovering from surgery. Warehouse. The company stored its inventory in a large warehouse on the outskirts of town. Warfare. The country was devastated by years of civil warfare. Warming. Global warming is causing glaciers to melt at an alarming rate. Warrant. The police obtained a search warrant before entering the suspect's home. Warrior. He was a skilled warrior who had won many battles. Weaken. Lack of exercise can weaken the muscles over time. Weave. The artist used natural fibers to weave a beautiful tapestry. Weed. She spent the afternoon pulling weeds from the garden. Weekly. The magazine publishes a new issue weekly, featuring the latest news and trends. Weird. The strange noise coming from the attic gave her a weird feeling. Welfare. The government provides welfare support for low-income families. Well. The water from the well was cool and refreshing on a hot summer day. Well-being. Meditation can have a positive impact on mental well-being. Whatsoever. There was no evidence whatsoever to support his claim. Wheat. The farmer planted wheat in the fields to harvest in the fall. Whereby. The contract outlined the terms whereby both parties agreed to abide. Whip. The chef used a whip to beat the cream until it formed stiff peaks. Whoever. Whoever finds the lost wallet should return it to the lost and found. Holy. She was wholly devoted to her family and their well-being. Widen. The construction crew will widen the road to accommodate more traffic. Widespread. The flu outbreak was widespread, affecting people across the country. Widow. The widow mourned the loss of her husband deeply. Width. The width of the river made it impossible to cross without a bridge. Willingness. His willingness to help others made him a valued member of the community. Wipe. She used a cloth to wipe the spill from the table. Wisdom. The wise old man shared his wisdom with the young travelers. Wit. His quick wit and sense of humor always lightened the mood. Withdraw. She decided to withdraw her candidacy from the election. Withdrawal. He experienced symptoms of withdrawal after quitting smoking. Wolf. The howl of the wolf echoed through the forest at night. Workforce. The company employs a diverse workforce from various backgrounds. Workout. She went to the gym every morning for a rigorous workout. Workplace. The workplace should be a safe and inclusive environment for all employees. Workshop. The artist set up a workshop where students could learn painting techniques. Worm. The bird plucked a worm from the ground to feed its chicks. Worship. People gather at the temple to worship and pray. Worthwhile. It was a long journey, but the breathtaking views made it worthwhile. Worthy. His selfless actions made him a worthy candidate for the award. Wrist. She wore a bracelet on her wrist that she had received as a gift. Yell. The coach had to yell to be heard over the cheering crowd. Yield. The farmer hoped the crop would yield a bountiful harvest. Zone. The city was divided into different zones for residential and commercial purposes.